get it. It's just lean.
It's your boy D.
I'm sorry. We're tuning in a homeroom with Smooth. Class is now in session.
Yo. So listen, this is the Homeroom with Smooth podcast, also in collaboration with Prime Kai's over there on Twitch. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all sub to him on Twitch. Don't sub to me, sub to him. Okay, he's consistent. I'm not. Okay, I'm over on YouTube. Um, I just got to be honest. I got to be frank. All right. So listen, I got with me this wonderful panel that was put together by none other than Bam. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying. Shout out to him. You know what I'm saying, for getting this whole thing together. So without further ado, we'll let the ladies going left to right introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I am Paradise Paris, and of course, I am your favorite controversial content creator, and you can find me on almost every app you touch.
Hey everybody, my name is Giselle. I'm an author, advocate, all that good jazz. And for the sake of this conversation, I'm just the person trying to get my shit off. So That's just about it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zimi. I'm a sociologist and a professor, and just super excited to be here for this conversation.
What's up, guys? It's your girl, 420 artist Whitney. Your YouTube's about to be YouTube's favorite tarot artist, you know, about to be out here reading everybody for their life, but giving guidance, though. But artists as well. So check me out on all socials, 420 artist Whitney.
Boom.
Okay. Right.
What?
Bam.
That was fantastic.
Y'all want to introduce yourselves?
I'm good.
They
don't
know me now.
Bam, my people don't know who you are, fam.
They don't need to.
This is on audio. They don't know who you are.
Okay. My name is Bam. I am a nigga that gives correct takes 100% of the time. Find me at this little name underneath here.
I'm gonna need the Carfax on that one. All right, so my name is Prime Kai. You will find me on Twitch and YouTube and other platforms as well. I do debate panels, something similar to this, all the time, gathering diverse people, and we'd love to have you. So hit me up there on Twitch and YouTube.
All right. So listen, I'm going to pass this off to my man Bam because he has the opening. So go ahead, Bam.
Okay. With this discussion, we hope that we delve into the impact being a Black woman has on your dating life, social interactions, political engagement, views on feminism, and feelings about media portrayals. Explore the challenges, stereotypes, and cultural expectations you encounter in these areas, and share your unique identities and experience and desired changes you see in representation. So basically, to sum all that up in the simple words, one at a time, tell me what being a Black woman means to you, and how do you feel about that? Left or right?
I don't know. It's kind of like this unicorn, imaginary, like glowy feeling that you get. Like it's always like a bubbly sensation all the time being a Black girl. No, seriously, like it's really some dope shit because we kind of like we the underdog, but we always rising. Like, you know, we really slept on, and then there we go, surprising the hell out of everybody. And it's kind of amazing to constantly keep making people look at you and listen to you. And I know a lot of women have an issue with that, but it's kind of like, it's one thing when you have, for instance, white women, they're going, hey, look at me, and Black women, we just be vibing, doing our own thing, and then everybody be like, look at her, you know. So that's to me how it feels like existing as a Black woman. A lot of times I don't have to ask for attention. I just vibe, I just do my own thing, I just create my own sector, and people rock with it, and they support it however, you know. And I don't make myself have to conform to other people's ideologies. I just do my own thing. And then even for Black women who don't represent me or look like me, they still fuck with it, and we just bond. So that's how I feel for me.
Okay. Oh.
I think I agree with that, but I would probably label it like a variety box of my favorite shoes or like a closet of my dreams. Like I feel like that's what being a Black woman feels like to me. Like I can go into this space that like there's something that I need and nothing is ever lacking. And even if I didn't know it was there like before, when I need it, it pop up. Like being a Black woman is like perpetually having community for me. Like I feel like, don't get me wrong, I know that everybody has their like their sense of community, but nothing is more solid than a community of Black women as a Black woman, right? Like there's just like the way that we communicate, the way we talk, the way we dance, the way that we move, the way that we argue. Like there's something that is very specific about it. And even in the understanding of like, we could be arguing, but you don't get to come in on this arguing and argue with us. Like, you know, like there's a bunch of different like safety cues and notes. And it just feels like I said, like being able to go into a closet built just for me and whether I need a hug, whether I need to be cursed out and told about myself, whether I need some love, whether I need somebody to tell me that that is not the outfit of the day, or somebody to just, you know, pat me on my back and tell me that I'm doing good. Like Black women gonna do that every time 10 toes down. And I feel like every day waking up knowing that, like it don't matter how much one Black girl pisses me off, I know that it's gonna be another one that's gonna make me smile that day. So it's just, I don't know. It just feels like perpetual community for me.
That's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Paradise Paris and Hope Giselle mentioned. So, as someone who grew up with two sisters, I would say being a Black woman is like an ongoing, never-ending sisterhood, right? Like it's no matter where you go, and it's global, right? Not just within the US. You have these group of people who you gonna fight with, you're gonna bicker with, you're not always gonna see eye to eye, but like at the end of the day, there's this like undercurrent and underlying like love for one another that we all have. And that love, it almost feels, it's not necessarily unconditional, but there's just this sense that like you can get support in whatever you need. Like I know no matter where I am, what I need, I can always count on some Black girl somewhere to have my back and to make sure that I get through. And it's the way I feel about my sisters, right? Like we're three very different women, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what either one of my sisters need. They know they can come to me and vice versa. So I would say being a Black woman is like having that, but like multiplied with all these different women that you don't know.
Okay. And Winnie.
Well, basically piggyback off what everybody else said. And I feel like we're very multifaceted. And I love that about us because there's not one section of Black girl. There's different, there's alternative, there's you know, the nerds, there's the models, there's the jocks. You know what I'm saying? Like I love how we still, like everybody says, as much as we fight and not agree with each other and be coming for each other's lace fronts, we be like, hold on, wait a minute. We know when to show unity. You know what I mean? Even when we're being the most disrespected things in the world. So we are very strong, even though our shoulders are weak at times. So.
Okay. So basically, now this is going to be just open. We don't have to go in order anymore. But we've spoken on a lot of the positives that y'all see of being a Black woman. What are some of the negatives that come with it?
Being labeled.
That was initially the first thing that I thought of.
Being labeled. Especially when I'm in an environment. If I'm in an environment where I'm just like going to a doctor's office and then somebody talks to me in a certain type of way because they assume I'm from somewhere I'm not, and I open my mouth and then they're like, oh, like taken aback. Yeah, I don't like that.
I would say for me, it's definitely the preconceived notion of the behavior. You know, she's going to be aggressive. Oh, she's going to be rude. She's going to be, it's almost as if like, you don't just find it amongst other cultures or just me, you find it amongst other Black women too. They automatically think if I've never interacted with you before, never engaged, like she's just going to be so rude to me and she's going to be disrespectful. And it's like, no, I'm going to give you respect of the contingency alone that you're a Black woman, and I'm going to be nice to you. And if you choose to receive that, then great. We can go forward. We can make a connection. If you choose to not, then I'm going to handle it accordingly.
Period.
I feel like
she low-key a gangster, bro.
I was just going to say, like, I feel like it's the fact that there are these boxes, and sometimes I feel like we have to find a box and fit into it. Like there is no you get to be Erykah Badu, India.Arie, Beyonce, and a little bit of Christina Aguilera, like all at one time. Like you have to like find your lane. So if you're gonna be the girl that's the diva, you're perpetually like the diva auntie that thinks she's better than everybody. Even though like, bitch, some days I'm not her. Some days I really am India.Arie in the backyard picking grapes and fruits and things. And it's just like, why do I have to like always serve just this one type of black girl in order to be considered legitimate, right? Like I can't be Megan on Monday and then turn around and be, you know, Hallie or Michelle Obama on Friday, because it's like, oh no, we saw you busting it open. You did. And now I'm busting it open, right? Like
and did.
and both of those things are okay. So like I think like for me, like on the judgment tip, that's exactly how I feel. Like I'm alternative. I am rock. I am sex. I am kink. I'm all of these things. But it's like if I express that to too many different people, then it's, oh, she don't know who she is. She doesn't know what kind of woman she wants to be. She's a chameleon, or oh, she fake. She blend in with whatever group she with at the time. And it's just like, no, these are just different pieces of me that different people serve the energy for. That's all. So
Yes.
yeah.
And adding to that, I would say for me, I think then one of the drawbacks of being a black woman is that like everybody expects you to be the cleanup woman, right? Like so you're supposed to support everybody. You're supposed to fix all the ills of the community, the black community, the US, the just everything, right? It's kind of like not showing up. Like people have questions when you don't show up to be the cleanup woman. Like how dare you like not show up for me, right? Because that's kind of like the role that you're expected to play in society. So I would say in addition to like some of the stereotypes and the assumptions, there's also this assumption that like we are there to be the caregivers and caretakers for everybody.
Right.
You know what?
Even if it's to our detriment.
I hear you, Zimi, and I noticed how Hope and Whitney responded to it. And honestly, I don't wear that shoe. I make it my business to prioritize me first, and I make it my business to tell people where my boundaries are as far as respecting the autonomy and respecting my time. I stopped doing that because I feel like a lot of times it comes from conditioning, and it does come from other people's expectation. A lot of times we are taking ourselves into situations where people did not ask for us and putting on that hat and saying, hey, if you need help, come over here. I will serve you. And so I stopped doing that. I stopped trying to show up and be present for everybody. And now I make them communicate if they have their needs. And those needs include me.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do that, do you get called aggressive or?
No, I mostly get called aggressive when I am asserting myself and I'm speaking up for myself. That's when I get called aggressive. And I get called aggressive when I'm not agreeing with people. So those two things. But typically, right, like in person, I'm a very little woman. Like I'm just 5'2". I'm just 5'2". So it's not like I don't have that issue more so online than anything. Or when I'm on the phone with customer service and it's a woman who don't look like this when she's not melanated trying to try me. Then I have to go ahead and, like, then that's when. Other than that,
gather her. Yeah.
the men, I have been gaslighted by also this colored man trying to, trying to get but as far as like black men and black women, that is not what I get. A lot of times, the only time I get that is when it's with the people who, look like the Google backdrop when you get on the homepage.
I ain't never heard it called the Google backdrop.
Google backdrop.
That's wild.
That's wild.
That's wild.
And like I said, I am a little woman. I am a very little woman. A lot of times people, they undermine me. They tend to think that they know I'm gonna lack intelligence.
They little kid me. I'm 5'2" too.
Yes, they think that I'm gonna lack intelligence, and I do think that has a form to play with pretty privilege because I typically carry a white woman's posterior. I'm busty. So initially, y'all know, like that's what they like. White women like That's their thing, the chess. So if I can
She
be
said,
candid
"I'm
about it,
busty."
the aggressiveness only comes out online, right? Because we have all of these caricatures of people who want to be social media influencers and relationship gurus, and they don't know shit. And then we have, the people in public, but I come from a very racist part of the country. So I'm conditioned to understanding that. A lot of times when I'm asserting my boundaries, I'm getting, you ain't got to be like that. Now, you have to
Yeah.
say the guilt. They try to emotionally manipulate me into feeling bad because I said no.
Yeah. But also because I don't look my age. So I get little girled a lot. And I'm like, hold on. I'm in my mid-30s, dog. Like, I'm an
I would not
auntie.
against that. Look at that black eye
Yeah.
cracking.
Period. Do you hear me? So, like, especially like when they try to little kid you and you're like,
I was definitely
been
finna
here
look
for a
at you.
while. I've been here for a while, bro.
Can I ask, like, since you brought up your height, do you feel unsafe in certain environments, maybe as a black woman or as a petite person?
No, I think because we like to fight. So you're scrappy.
I'm glad she said it like, and this is not to discount other women's experiences. I'm not a fearful person. You're gonna have to show me. I just wasn't. I don't have that mentality. I'm a gun owner now. I lived in the house with guns.
You heard that, Bam?
Like
Said
you
two-way.
can't run up on my mama. Like my mom has she has 5 sisters that live in the city that we live in. Altogether, she has 9 sisters in house, and then there's a couple more outside. Run up on one of my aunties. I promise you, one of them have a weapon on them. But that's how I was raised. You can't do that to me. I don't accept that. I very much so I don't welcome confrontation, but I know how to handle it. So even with me being little, I as a youth, like I said, people typically take that and they try you. They try to undermine. They try to, basically you the underdog because you're small. Like you're not a threat to people. And so even with the gaslighting or the I don't know, like the little nitpicking, it's very common. Like they don't take me serious until I get serious.
Mm-hmm. I heard whenever y'all were mentioning on the labor that's expected of you. So I'm just curious about that. Do y'all feel like the black community as a whole has your best interest at heart?
No.
As a whole,
Mm-mm.
no.
Absolutely the fuck not.
No.
Absolutely
No,
not.
we're too disheveled to know what's best for anybody at this point. Like we don't have no way to come together to figure it out for some reason, which I don't understand.
I think that I think the black community is okay with the stress, struggle, etc. of black women if it means the upliftment of like cis black men, right? Like you can die you can die for a cis, black, like they are, because they're supposed to be the pathway to freedom, to like black liberation, right? The way that these movements have been set up is that like black men are the pathway and the key to black liberation. And so like get down or lay down if you're not willing to support the black man on his way to like uplifting and freeing the black community, then like you are really disposable. And I think that black women get expected to do the labor, but we're actually seen as quite disposable beyond that.
I completely think something else. Absolutely. No, honestly, I think that is the opposite. I absolutely believe that black women are seen as the catalyst of all things great in the black community. I do think that in totality, everybody does want black women to succeed, because if the men are not around, which we've been socialized and we just had a history of them being separated from us, even if they have not left on their own standing, the women will be there. Black women are not the threat. Black men are the threat. So there have been things put into place that separated us from black men. And so for the black women who champion to have black men around, we typically demonize them as if that they are lap dogs, or that they shouldn't support, or that they are some weak individual because they're champion to have their path to freedom around. You know,
Threat
and
to who though?
yeah, so it's
You said
like
it was a threat, but threat to who? Like threat to Black women or threat to the
no,
larger white
a threat
society?
to other parts of society. So
Okay.
Black men, to me, you know, their protection lies in their intimidation. And a lot of times we only emphasize what it looks like with them in proximity to us. But a lot of times we're talking about Black men as if they haven't been right there along every single struggle and revolution with us. They've been right there the whole time. I have the I always say in the Black community, there was always one code. Don't touch women, don't touch children. That's always been one code. And we know that if the Black men are not around, you do everything in your power to attempt to protect the women because the man may not be there. So I don't see it that way.
Is that really what Black men do? Are Black men? I'm sorry. Like,
Here
I
it
don't
comes.
know that I think that.
Is that a question? Is this
Time
a
to call out
question?
Bam. It's been about time.
Because
Let's do it.
I'm really I'm struggling with that too, because I feel like there are parts of what Paradise is saying that I'm like, yeah, that resonates, that tracks. I get that. But I'm definitely leaning into Zimi, and I believe like 420 Whitney when like so based on the question, when it's about like the idea of are the interests of Black women, right, like as a whole for the whole community, like are they all in sync and are they all in step? And that's like, no, like if we're honest, there are so many people's agendas that come before Black women as it pertains to just the Black community alone. Like fuck humanity, fuck everybody else's struggle. But when it comes down to Black people, I think that Zimi hit the nail on the head when she said that if you are serving the Black man with your Black womanhood or with your Black femininity, then absolutely, my love, then we are all in step. The second that you say, also, King, I need to take a little bit of this mojo we got going on here and talk about bodily autonomy for women over here right fast. That is when all of the rest of that shit goes out of the window. And it's like, those are things that I feel like are interesting and ridiculous at the same time. You want me to come and be your ride or die, right? And I'll take it back to an example that I think that we all have heard at least once in our life. I have to be your ride or die no matter what type of Black man you are. Whether you're the CEO on your way up to becoming a billionaire or whether you the dope boy trying to move from the middleman to the head guy, right? I'm expected to ride or die for you. And there are conversations that happen on every level of every spectrum of Black man where they all justify the deprecation or the upliftment of Black women, but only based upon how they are treated in the process. So if the question is solely about whether or not the Black community as a whole is in step with the betterment or with the needs of Black women, most of the time the answer is absolutely the fuck not. Because at the end of the day,
respectfully, I have to call it out respectfully because, for one, most of the time when you even have women in those predicaments where it's drugs affiliated, the man is taking all the charges and he wanted her to go back home. That bottom line, they're taking all the charges. Secondly, there's a lot of times in the Black community where we base everything, majority of our violence is based off retaliation. Somebody did something or said something wrong to somebody, mama or their sister or their cousin. And another man went and checked that man about behind that man. And maybe he ended up in jail or maybe he lost his life because of the disrespect that his sister, mama, cousin, girlfriend, whoever was around him experienced. And so he stepped up to the plate. Another thing about that is even when we're talking about how the dynamic of between mothers and sons, we have a huge issue with emotional incest. That is one of the key catalysts. Boys are not only taught to prioritize their mother, they have an inherent respect for women that women are not taught. Initially, when growing up as a Black girl, even me, I come from a 2-parent household, but I have nothing but single women around me. It was always prioritize yourself, get your money, go get an education. That was always the thing. Go get an education. Don't worry about no man. Men will come, boys will come. The idea of dating was so far-fetched as a Black girl. You snuck around with boys. You weren't allowed and championed to deal with boys. You were told you were fast, you were minimized, you were degraded, all for the strength of just having a like, not just an interest, just an attraction, not actually engaging. But when it came to the boys, It was always prided for them to have a romantic interest in anything that they do for a girl that is positive. Anytime he's buying her something, anytime he's doing just something that men should be doing, he's getting praise and rapport for uplifting her. So even when we look at how men act with their mothers versus how men behave with their spouses, even though we understand that there's a disconnect, they inherently are taught to always respect women. We are not taught that. So if we're talking about what the overall consists of for Black women, that everybody in 3 demographics, right? Sexuality aside, you're talking about Black men, Black women, and this is not cisgendered or other, and you're talking about Black children. When you're talking about those 3 different demographics, the question is, do everybody in the Black community want Black women to succeed? My answer is yes, because everybody in the Black community relies on Black women to succeed.
I would say, I don't think that men in general have been taught to respect women, and I certainly don't think that Black men are an aberration in how men have been taught to relate to women.
Right.
So I think some of what you're describing is men are taught to dominate women. They're taught to objectify and take ownership of women, right? That's why, there's all this rhetoric around like what you can buy your girl, and you're
right.
It's not really about women. It's about how you get to demonstrate or display your dominance and or your masculinity through your to other men, through your domination and ownership of women, right? And I don't think we're talking about Black people, so we're going to talk about Black men, but it's not unique, right? This is a byproduct of patriarchy. I get called a misandrist because I think it's wild that Black men sometimes act as if they are immune to patriarchy.
They don't benefit from patriarchy.
They what?
They do not benefit from patriarchy. Black men cannot benefit from a system that was not created for them.
Black men absolutely do benefit from patriarchy because they're men, and all men benefit from a patriarchal system. Maybe not in the same way, right? Maybe not in the same way, but all men benefit from
it's still beneficial in some way.
All men will benefit from a system where men are at the head of that society, right? It doesn't look the same for every single man, and I think that's a nuanced conversation to have. But this idea that Black men don't benefit from patriarchy just kind of like flies in the face of like truth and what we know about how societies function. So I don't think that, to go back to the question about are Black women, how are Black women treated, right? I think that Black women are, like Hope said, if you are doing service, right, doing work in the service of Black men, Black masculinity, then you are a woman that's like uplifted. But we can look at how men treat issues that don't have anything to do with them, right? Like you look at the split in the Black community about how we think about like reproductive autonomy, for instance. Right, you have like Black men. Shout out to the hoteps who are like, Planned Parenthood was created so that we can stop depopulate the Black community. Right, no thought about like how Black women have historically, since chattel slavery, been denied of reproductive autonomy. Black women literally had zero reproductive autonomy under a system of chattel slavery. There's no connection between that for Black men who are espousing this kind of anti-reproductive autonomy rhetoric, right? So when you look at women's issues that maybe fly counter to Black men's needs, that's when you really get a sense of how Black women are valued. And we're just not, at least not by Black men.
I found it very interesting that when the question was posed, you immediately like sectored into a gender war. And I found that quite interesting. And then it's more so of like insinuating that men in general are not taught like the act of the dominance cannot be correlated with the act of protection, or even with the idea of gifting. That's courtship. That's essentially traditionalism. That's basically what it is. But you use the word dominance, and that comes off as a negative connotation. When if it was a woman who was saying he buys me things, then you would be saying he cared about me, or he was expressing your acts of service, gift giving. It's a lot of nuances in the conversation, because when you're talking about it from a different dynamic and it's based off of who is saying it, it becomes a threat versus acceptance. So if it was a man saying he was giving you a gift, right? Now you're saying, oh, he's trying to dominate me. But if it was a woman requesting the gift and she's expecting it from the man as basic her standard, now you're saying this is him expressing his gratitude. This is him showing me appreciation. This is an act of service. But in regards to the whole entirety of the question, when I think of Black men, are there some Black men who absolutely have no respect and no moral regard for Black women? Absolutely. But even then, we're talking about, for me, I'm talking about the three demographics. Other Black women, most Black women can tell you that they've had a terrible experience when it comes to working with Black women, and they've had terrible friendship experiences, whether she slept with someone behind their back, whether she slandered her character, whether she's been assaulted by another Black woman. We saw Kanika Jenkins. And then when you talk about Black children, right? Those are people who heavily rely on Black women to make the whole dynamic of the Black community function, especially since we are having a very difficult time accepting that we are a matriarchy. And even with that being said, I have to say that when we talk about coons and we talk about degenerates, the normal people in between are the masses. The normal people absolutely want to see Black women succeed, even if they don't agree with everything that Black women do.
I think that what I heard Zimi doing just now, and Zimi, you're feel free to jump in. But what I felt like I heard was it was in rebuttal to that statement. I don't think that was necessarily Zimi giving her opinion about the entirety of the question, but it was in response to that statement, because I think I was getting ready to go there as well, which is the idea of why those men do those things that you were naming in your examples, right? It is not necessarily saying like, oh, they want women to win because they are doing all of these things that feel inherent, right? What we do know is that these things are taught by cishet Black men and some Black women in the act of portraying masculinity, which has nothing to do with the protection of women, right? Or the betterment or the uplifting of women and things that have that contribute to our happiness and our happiness alone. So I think the point that Zimi and even myself are trying to make is that when we hear the question, what I think we are hearing is, when it comes down to what women want, what women need, the betterment of women, and most things that are going to help to push the agenda of what Black women need outside of the Black relationship, the relationship to a man, the Black marriage, whatever the case may be. If we are talking about whether the Black community, and I think that in this particular question, we have to ex-nay the kids, because if you ask most kids, of course they're going to say, I need my mommy, right? Like
Right.
most kids are going to say that. But when we are having a conversation amongst adults, and I think that this narrows it down, men and women, a lot of Black women, like you named, Paradise, is that they're going to either have one or two things. I've had a great experience with most Black women. I've had a negative one. Most Black men, if they have not had a woman that has been in a space of servitude and wanting to be a second coming of his mother, are going to say that they've had a negative experience, which then falters the way that they vote for the experiences that have nothing to do with them. When it comes down to the bodily autonomy of women, if it's not about her being able to shake their ass in his face at Magic City or whatever the case may be, they don't care.
As long as they don't care.
When it comes down to the idea of abortion rights and all that stuff, the only reason that they've been boisterous about this conversation is because hoteps have told them that it's about the eradication of the Black family. But if they had different numbers and somebody else giving them different information, they would not care. When it comes down to the ways in which Black women are talking about how we're being fired from our job because of hairstyles, when it comes down to the idea of what happens to the fact that the numbers of Black women dying during pregnancy are going up, when it comes down to the idea of, for hell, bring back our girls. Where the fuck are our girls? When there are issues that are specific to Black women, Black men are significantly quieter than when there are issues that have anything to do with a Black men. That is when you see the fullness of the community stand up and I eradicate the children, but also even the children are brought in to those things. But when you talk about the idea of how many people stand up when it is solely about a Black woman getting some shit for Black women, it is not the same. So I think that was the correlation that was being
Give
made.
me an example where you have seen where Black men are not present to show up. And I know we're talking about the reproductive system, et cetera, et cetera. I can't even include the medical form of that because it just, it's so much interracial, it's so much racial biases in that. I don't even think that that's a fair point, especially because Black people don't even dominate the medical industry. So can you provide me?
I'll give you an example.
Please.
Yeah, I mean, so a great example would be what happened with the school to prison pipeline and its impact on Black girls versus Black boys, right? So there were a number of initiatives that was supported by the entire Black community, Black women and men, about there's something happening in these schools where our young boys, young Black boys, are being referred or directly transferred into the juvenile justice system, which then trickled further down the line. It leads to them having contact with the adult criminal legal system. At the same time this was happening, there was something very similar happening for Black girls. Black girls are also impacted by the school to prison pipeline, but then there's also this abuse to prison pipeline that happens for young Black girls, right? Nobody showed up for that. Right. There's a couple of Black women academics who are constantly talking about it, but there are no widespread initiatives like My Brother's Keeper, right? That was introduced by
5,000 role models.
I mean, we can go down the list. And it's not just Black men who show up for these initiatives. It's the entire community who shows up. When people say, wait, hold on, wait a minute. Those same schools, Black girls they're experiencing some shit in those schools. It's like, there's just not enough time. There's not enough resources. Or the worst one is it's a distraction, right? When Black women raise their issues, this is a distraction from Black liberation. So like we can go down the list about the number of ways in which Black women will show up for Black men, but when the same is asked in return, crickets.
So, I was going to just add to this. I think this is super interesting, the split that we're having here. Because we can see this like through history, right? When we're talking about Black men's distance from the patriarchy, right, and the desire to get closer, we see this even when it comes to voting, right? There was a point in time where like there was like a convention, literally a convention between like leading Black men academics and white women, like looking to get the vote. But there was a split in that convention because all of a sudden Black men were getting that attention. The political winds were going in their direction. And then they forgot about those white women. And remember, Black men weren't even there at all. Like they were just like not even part of the conversation. But like the drive for Black men to like get closer and to imitate what they see in white society, that's the thing that people have been talking about for forever. But on the other hand, I really was like fascinated by what Paris had to say, talking about like a matter of perspective and the things that were how black masculinity is performed, and that how that is often looked at as protection, right? Where one person could say it's domination, other person say, well, this is protection. So I'm loving this split. So I would like to hear more about that. So, Paris?
Well, I would say in regards to the whole prisoner pipeline thing, again, we're talking about white supremacy. So that's an umbrella effect of what's happening. But the reason as to why, and we don't emphasize it to Black women specifically, is because of the fact that not that is a distraction or anything. It's because it's not a major issue. It's less than 4% of women who are jailed. Like it's not a mass catalyst of women going down this prison to pipeline center where it's having a rapid effect on the community to the point where, oh my gosh, there is like a genocide on the women in regards to prison. There's a genocide on the women in regards to violence or, that particular sector, because that is not a common thing for women to be inherently violent or be violent in a way where it replicates to everyone and people are fear-mongered from being around women. It's not something that socially exists.
Is that including the women who like just take charges for their man too, though? Like that percentage? Because I know a lot of women who take charges for
okay,
their
so that percentage,
that's something totally different, right? Because at that point, then it wouldn't be a prison to pipeline situation. Like
it's the abuse.
At that point, that would be socialization. That would be the inherent way that women are taught to champion for a man. That's what that would be. That's not the same thing as the prison to pipeline situation, because what we see in the actual school system is the disparages of Black boys, how they're positioned directly in back of the class as opposed to being in front, how they're always given more disciplinary actions as opposed to the other children, including the Black girls, how they're always characterized in a certain negative connotation, and the teachers don't take time to actually accept helping them with their education. They have the least likely education. Most Black men are reading on an 8th grade level. Most Black men are the least likely to, graduate. We're talking about academia. We're talking about a widespread of things. If you're talking about prison to pipeline, that has nothing to do with a 22-year-old girl sitting in a car with a 29-year-old man holding dope on her.
But isn't that like emotional? Some sort of emotional abuse has to play with.
No,
play
so
in that.
look.
Wait, let Whitney get a
clarify
point out
that
first because she
number?
hasn't said nothing in a minute.
Hold on, wait, huh?
I'm sorry.
I was just saying Whitney hadn't said nothing in a second.
Wait,
Hold
no,
hold
I'm
on.
like,
I ain't said nothing at all in 40 minutes. Like,
okay.
hold on.
Spicy.
Hold on. I ain't said nothing in 40 minutes. So
Do you
hold on.
think?
You better cook my
listen.
cook.
Hey, look, I let y'all get y'all stuff off, man. And I appreciate everybody's thoughts on everything. But as far as those women are concerned, like I don't feel like that, like Paris was saying, that's not a similar situation. Because when you look at Black men and the rate of charges and how they get their said charges, it's not even close. The percentages are not even fair, and you can go year by year by year till you get all the way back to civil rights. It's not even close.
I'm not even picking a side.
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying it was close.
But I'm saying it's a fact. It's a fact.
Yeah,
you can know.
But what I was saying is, it was a question. Wait, what I was asking is,
I know.
Can I actually just jump in here?
Wait. I'm gonna let you get back in.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you get back in. Like it's not even close, because I'm talking about you go federally, you go state by state. There's no state. I dare you to find me a state where the women and Black men number are even close. It's not even amongst children jailed. It's not close. I don't want us to lose focus on why that is the way it is. No. So listen, they systematically set us up this way. It's not now. I'm not saying like, oh man, like we should disregard women or that Black men shouldn't show up for women. I'm just saying that it's so bad that people were like, yo, we need to fix it. It was that bad. No, it was that bad. Yeah, it was on. Yes, it's on them. Yes, it's on them. It's exactly on them, because Black men are directly their direct threat. We're the direct threat. At the end of the day, we're the direct threat.
Right.
Well, can I just clarify a couple of things really quick? Hold on. Let me just clarify. So I said I was a sociologist at the start of this. I should have led by saying I actually am a criminologist. I specifically study the criminal justice system. And so we do have to talk in fact. And what some of you have said is just not what we know factually. So one, yes, you're correct. The overwhelming majority of people who are incarcerated are men. 93% of incarcerated people are men. Only 7% are women. But if we were to look at raw numbers and say, oh, well, it's just a small group. Well, most Black men aren't incarcerated. Most people in the US aren't incarcerated, right? It's only about 2 million people on an annual basis that are incarcerated out of 360 something million. So what we're really interested in is proportions. We're interested in, compared to their proportion in the population, are Black men being incarcerated at a disproportionate rate? The answer is yes. Similarly, what we're interested in when it comes to women is, are Black women being incarcerated at a disproportionate rate? So while women only make up 7% of people who are incarcerated, Black women are disproportionately incarcerated relative to their proportion in the US population. That's why it's an issue. And Black girls actually are far more disproportionately referred to the juvenile justice system, adjudicated in the juvenile justice system, and detained as minors, right? So we can't get into this thing about, well, we don't care about it, or it's not the reason why these initiatives didn't happen for Black women was because it was a small number. Well, by that argument, it's a small number of people who are incarcerated.
Well,
right?
no,
The-
I wasn't saying a
So
small. I wasn't
let-
saying a small number. I was saying
so
that I'm
I
saying
just
the temporary effects of
I
said
just
thing. It got out of pocket.
let me
It got
also
out
just
of control. Go ahead.
hold on. Let me also just add that the ways in which women interact with the justice system are also different. So one of the ways in which Black women get surveilled is through these ancillary institutions like child welfare services.
Mhm.
Black women are consistently being criminalized and penalized when it comes to CPS and CWS,
Absolutely.
right? But most Black people don't know anything about that. We could tell you everything about how Black men
Oh, I
get
know.
tracked into the
Black women
justice
know,
system.
they just
So
don't call it that. They don't
let me
call
just
getting reported.
let me
on
just end
as
by
criminalization.
let me just end by saying this. I think some of you all's points actually speak to the fact that because we prioritize Black men, we actually don't know anything about how Black women end up in the criminal justice system and what the impacts are. You all can spot off all of these things about how Black men came to be in the justice system, its impact. But when we get into, okay, well, let's talk about women, it's a lot of like lack of information. That's actually Hope, Giselle,
It's
Can
and
we hear
Whitney's
from
point.
Whitney? Can we? Whitney was trying. You tried to say something previously, Whitney, right?
Oh no, that's what she basically said. What I was saying, because that's what she said, that 4%, and it made me think like, okay, well, does that include like the women who have been like probably locked up because of CPS for no reason, or does that include the women who's emotionally and mentally abused by their man for doing stuff for them and going to jail? That was my question,
But
basically.
here's
But
the
to
thing,
sum it
right?
up,
We know that there are wide range of why people get locked up. It is disingenuous to assume that Black women are not wrongfully, incarcerated the same way Black men are. I think the disconnect here is that people not necessarily are not giving focus to it, or institutions are not putting money towards it. It's the fact that it does not happen as such a great catastrophic manner. And I'm so happy that you did say you study criminology, because I studied political science with a concentration in pre-law, and of course, definitely worked in the criminal justice system. So, of course, all these things that we pay attention to, aside from my environment, I've been dealing with the juvenile system, been dealing with the criminal justice system for quite some time, and systematic things that oppress not only Black men, but Black women. Black women are aware that they get reported on, which is why they handle things in a certain manner. They do their paperwork. They check up on it. The other things that affect us disproportionately from Black men, I don't think that they are fair comparisons, because we look at Black men, and even when you look at Black women are disproportionately locked up in accordance to white women, right? But as in regards to men, we're still under them. So this is not something that's affecting Black people in mass so much to the point where we go, wait a minute, this needs to be looked at. More times often than not, if a Black woman is being incarcerated, more times often than not, we know that there was probably a crime committed, as opposed to Black men, which we keep seeing almost every year. They are getting exonerated left and right for false precedent charges way back through the crime bill and right before. We see this as a constant rate, that this is affecting the community. This is removing men from the house. This is removing the idea of education. This is removing men from the workforce system that we can use and that we can benefit from within the community. That's not happening at such a grandiose rate with the women, which is why it's not like a high priority, because we can absolutely assume there was a crime committed and they actually did it. Because the same way you guys are saying that men benefit off of patriarchy, we also benefit off the privilege of being a woman. There's an innocence with being a woman.
Okay, I'm not picking a side either way. Just like a couple things, it's not shocking that like men in general are going to be in prison at higher rates. Or, like, men are more violent. I think over 90% of violent crime is committed by men generally. I think they always try to quote 50% as Black men. So like I can understand like we're going to be in prison at higher rates. On the other side of that, it is I just because I saw the statistic today and it shocked me. Like 1 in 3 Black men.
1 out of 7 men who are Black will have a run-in with at least a misdemeanor.
Well, 1 in 3 will actually do federal time. Will have a felony in their lifetime, and that seemed high to me. I was like 1 in 3, but that was ridiculous. But again, I'm not flipping aside. That was just something that was interesting to me. Y'all can continue, or I can switch to something lighter.
I think the other thing that kind of struck me a bit weird was like You guys talking about like the hotep guys? Like, yeah, okay, they're like this really small like percentage of dudes that like no matter what any dude or woman tries to tell them, they will not listen. Like they're in their own basket. Just like every community has their crazies, hotep is our own little box of black crazy. Like, and we just gotta agree, like, we're not gonna fix them. Like everybody has their own. No, everybody has their own group of people that you're just not gonna fix. And I'm okay with just pushing hoteps to the side. Like, hey, we're not gonna fix them.
Yeah, but
We're not gonna fix them. No, because when you
And
look
they
at
also don't have as much of an
they have a
influence on
fundamental
the wide
misunderstanding.
ranges of black people that we like to assume. The hoteps are a very small community of men, and they do not have as much impression on people, because if they were able to, then they would be controlling a lot of what people idealize. They love to talk about women's looks. They love to talk about how we eat. They love to talk about how the children should be raised. They have a very much so like almost to a degree, they want all women in the house with them, like polygamy. Like they're definitely a dynamic. All men don't subscribe to that. All black men,
you want to say something?
do not have a wide range of no, they don't.
Can we hear from Hope? You really want to say something?
I'm tripping because I'm like, what do y'all mean? Oh, there's this small group that have. You do realize that small group made one man very motherfucking famous and very fucking rich in under a year, right? Like that small group of people are the very group of people that have turned people with nothing on their platform into millionaires overnight because
what man?
Some shit that. So you gonna really sit here and act like you don't know who Dr. Umar is? You really
right?
Act like you didn't
understand. So listen. Let's get his sideways scamming ass out, like on the side. Like
That's gonna open it up next week.
We know what he
does.
does.
Not too much on Dr. Umar. Not too much on Dr. Umar.
But the thing is, like the same way that there are Dr. Umars, there are Derek Jacksons, there are Steve Harveys, there are all of these other men, right? Whether they have a credible reputation or not, that have a very much so popular fan base that make them, grow the way.
What's the thread? What's the thread that runs through all of them?
Right. But that my thing is don't move
the fact that they're black men.
Like
they have different likes, different interests. When I think about Dr. Umar, he's nothing like Steve Harvey at all.
But
can I?
I'm
sorry,
just very quickly. Just very quickly.
No, because
like,
I
just hold on. Smooth, 1 second, just very quickly. Like I just like that's not how like political ideas are propagated, right? It's not just like you have to be a member of a group to believe in that, right? So hoteps have their whole list of ideals, but that doesn't mean that these things aren't proliferated in the community. And I think what the other ladies are trying to say is that while most black men don't consider them hoteps, that doesn't mean they don't have hotep-like ideas. That doesn't mean that if you quiz them on their beliefs and their interactions with women, you won't find some hotep-type beliefs. So maybe not focus on the hotep thing in itself, but more the larger conversation about how black masculinity interacts with black femininity.
Okay, Prime.
Can I give an example of that?
Go ahead, Zimi, and then I'll go. Go ahead.
So I'm going to use all the people that Paradise named, right? You named Steve Harvey,
Derek Jackson,
Umar, and Derek Jackson. Umar Johnson, I think people forget this. When he first started out, he used to go around giving speeches about how if black women would abstain from sex, they used to be like these abstinence speeches. I've been listening to him for quite some time, right? So he's had different grifts. His first grift was the abstinence grift, about how the problem with the black community was that black women are too promiscuous, and really black women need to abstain from having sex with these black men, and that's going to lead to the upliftment of the black community.
And we see it currently.
So let me when I said what's the thread, then we have Steve Harvey who act like a man, whatever
like a man, act like a woman.
Yes, whatever that book was called, right? Hits black women you know what the problem with you is? You're sleeping with men too fast, right? You really need to wait 90 days because that's how you get a husband and that's how you go on to have the black family. Then we have, and mind you, none of these men are actually living these lives, right? Then we have Derek Jackson. Listen to video after video. It's about not being promiscuous, being a good black man, a good black woman. So to go to Prime and
whole point was to talk about men. It never focused on
Wait,
women.
you let her finish her point though.
So to go back to Hope, he did talk about women. So to go back to Hope's point and to Prime's point, hoteps is just like a term we use to describe a certain type of black conservatism, black male conservatism that certainly runs beyond Umar Johnson. So it's a bit unfair to point to someone who's that far out and be like, oh, he's a joke, he's a clown. But like his ideology, the threads of it, you can see in a Derek Jackson, you can see in a Steve Harvey, right? Like you can see in a lot of the prominent black male figures. I think that's what we're trying to get at, right?
Okay.
That ideology isn't just deduced down to black male figures, though. That's also something that we can see as far as like feminism, misandry, all these other things. Like you don't have to actually, to Prime's point, you don't actually have to subscribe to these things to attach yourself to these ideologies.
Okay, so I do want to ask the question of let's define what is a hotep, because I think a lot of people are misdefined into a category that they're probably not even fully subscribed to, and I think it's unjust and unfair to put somebody in a category they don't fully subscribe to. If they're fully subscribed to it, then sure, you're a member of that society. But if you're not fully subscribed to it and you just happen to share like one or two ideologies,
so what
like,
are you, a half
that
tep?
doesn't make
like, you can't be a half tep.
No,
man.
no, it's not even about being a half tep. It's just like, oh, you have one thing that you agree with these people on. You're now a hotep. That doesn't make sense.
That's
No. I know I gave that as an extreme example, but I'm not saying that's the example. Like, don't be disingenuous.
Dealing with Joe Biden, nobody really liked the crime bill for black people, but all of a sudden everybody was voting for him because he was going to erase student loans. So it's literally that type of idea. So you're not necessarily subscribing to that particular party. You're not necessarily a Democrat, and you're not necessarily a Joe Biden supporter. But because they have this one thing that you can get on board with, all of a sudden, you're being attached to that you support this idea, and that's not necessarily so. I thought Trump was a funny president. I didn't think he was a good president.
That doesn't negate what Zimi just said, though. Like, literally, y'all agreed with what the statement that she was saying. Two things can be true at one time. And then I think Prime came in to make even more sense of that by saying that at the end of the day, this is about the ideology, right? We recognize that we stretching it a little bit for this conversation, but because everybody here is black, we would assume that y'all would understand that what we're saying is that you don't necessarily have to be a hotep, right? For us to like group you into that when we're having conversations around hotep nigga behavior, right?
Well, just like that, because if that's the case, right, then we're basically using the wrong terminology to apply to a certain dynamic of people, and that's what we can't. We literally started this off with talking about how people box black women in. And when you're using that hotep dynamic just to perpetuate an ideology into the conversation, you're doing the same thing. You're boxing.
But it's not about my thing is we all understand when we say, when we say, I want to get ratchet like a black girl, there's a bunch of different ways to be ratchet, but we understand that there's a definition for the most for the baseline behavior. I think of
one thing, shaking my ass, smoking and drinking.
Again, that is baseline behavior, because for you that might read ratchet. For another girl, that's an average Friday night, right? So
Friday.
No, but she's averagely ratchet all the time. Then she's always ratchet. Like, what are we talking about?
Smoking, drinking, shaking ass. That is ratchet. Like
my thing is, why can we classify those activities, but we can't do the same thing when we say hotep? Y'all can picture a nigga with 3 different characteristics,
right?
And stick them in that box, right? Well, so I feel like right now we're being willfully obtuse.
So
I feel like we're being willfully obtuse right now, because it's like
that's all I said. All I said is picking and choosing, and I stand by it because we can saying, "Oh, this ideology doesn't necessarily make you a hotep." Smooth acts define the hotep. You're not defining the hotep. We're letting you know, even though that small group of people has a huge sector of one person that they have castrated and made very influential. That could be the same as Nicki Minaj and her fan base, or Beyonce and their fan base. We still know that that's a very small group of people. That does not
Okay,
speak for the masses.
you want me to read the definition? You want me to read the
Well, yeah,
definition?
it don't make me no difference.
Okay. Oh no, and I'm not trying to correct you or anything. I'm just saying because I don't know much as hotep except for I guess the
Oh, I'm just
stereotype
saying,
of what a stereotype is. I mean was right. So looking it up, it just says an Afrocentrist African American subculture that focuses on ancient Egypt as a source of Black pride. That makes sense. You can call me a hotep then because that's a lot of where my spirituality reigns from. But I don't. Well, like you said, I don't subscribe to all of it. So I guess I'm a half
Oh,
tep.
you can't call me a hotep because hoteps are misogynistic.
Very much so.
Like,
But
that's
if you
the
look at the classic
dictionary.
definition
Yes.
of it, I would say,
Yes.
yeah. But if you
Yeah,
look at the
yeah.
reality of it, you'd be like, nah. Like
Exactly.
they took it in.
Right.
And if you're
So
asking for more
there's this-
specificity, we can just like name the things that we were talking about, right? So talking about Black conservative ideology, we can talk about those misogynistic tendencies that we're referring to. And like, if you guys just want to keep hoteps out of the conversation, that's as simple as
No,
that.
I'm gonna call them hoteps because we all know what a hotep is.
No,
I'm not about to
no. I
Like,
would
y'all
no.
know what
Wait,
we
I
do
feel like we get too
outside
deep
of
into hoteps. I guess
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Can we
would.
get
I
some
would.
brothers
I would
back
prefer.
on
I
the
would
list?
prefer if we just left them. We just left them where they are. Because to me,
Because they're gonna join the
for,
combo.
for the people that I met that I define as hoteps, like I put them in their own box, and I've always left them there. I don't
Because you
even. I
think
don't
you're
even associate or
different.
deal with them.
This is like
I don't
an
even
open
can I-
associate
can
or
I-
deal with them.
But
You can-
Smooth, it's because you think you're different. And what if I challenged you and said perhaps you're not that different than
Ooh.
like
Okay, go ahead.
right?
Go ahead. No. Let's do
let's
this.
talk about it.
No.
That's-
Let's do this exercise. Let's do this exercise. Go ahead.
that's
ahead.
perhaps like where
ahead.
the tussle and the
Yeah,
struggle
go ahead.
is,
Let's
right?
do this.
Like
Let's do this. You'll be surprised.
We like to think of these people as these like super out there aberrations because they come out and they say like the most extreme version. But like we as Black people, for instance, we understand that people can espouse white supremacist ideals without like running around calling people niggers, right? Like Donald Trump don't have to come on TV and be and call us all the N-word
Right.
for us to know that he's like a white supremacist, right? So we can't look at the most extreme version of something and say, because I don't fit into that, I don't espouse these other ideals and ideologies, right? So yeah, they're not a small group of people. We're not going to put them to the side. Yeah, the verbiage, hotep, whatever you want to call it, but it's a lot of Black men. It's a lot of y'all.
Yeah.
Have very similar ideas.
So Zimi, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. No. Like
So wait a minute, hold on.
I just don't feel like this is
No,
Bam.
Personally, I think you missed it. It's not you you're like a stand-in. What I'm saying is people have this desire to distance themselves and be like, nah, them hoteps be wild and they tripping. I'm not like them niggas, but you are like them niggas, right? And that's the part we really, because if we act like it's just Umar in them, then we never get to I'm never gonna interact with an Umar. I'm never gonna interact with Tariq, but I am gonna interact with Smooth, Bam, and Prime. So I'm not gonna treat you all like you all are that far away from what them niggas is doing, because quite frankly, it tends to be like pretty much the same.
See how she threw me in?
But that's the problem. No, but that's the problem. There's a broad assumption
Maybe not
of what a hotep
We're not
is,
gonna
which
talk
is why I
30
started.
minutes about
Which is why I started with asking what the
because
definition
I'm
was.
out of
Because
here. I gotta
You're
challenge
just
you.
broadly putting people in a box, bro. I'm not taking it personal at all.
Smooth. I'll challenge you though, right? Like we've had, because on Thursdays we have All Black Everything on my channel. Check it out, right? But we've had like yelling matches between you and me about like Black women's sexuality. We've talked about that. And how like you were talking to your friends and they've done grimy shit, and I'd like told them, don't do this grimy shit. And basically you were saying that they should feel guilty about like taking charge of their sexuality. That was a big fight between you and me, right? And it's not to say
are you sure you were talking to me that night?
I was absolutely talking to you. There was
no.
The point is that like I'm not like saying that you are a bad person. I'm not saying that you're a hotep. I'm not trying to like put you in the box. The only point that these ladies are trying to say is that there's this like level of Black conservative ideology that infiltrates our population. I'm sure even me, right? I'm sure if someone interviewed me, there'd be some of that. And I'm a big ass leftist, right? So like it's just the way it is being a man in America.
So I wanted to like I said, I think this was really interesting, but we just don't need to have a 30-minute discussion on proving the hotep. Like I want to keep
Go ahead, ma'am.
Though I guess switching to like a slight kind of a different topic. I want you to answer this, y'all to answer this personally, and then expand it to like Black women generally. do you find it more find it difficult dating as a Black woman, and if so, why?
Can I start this off?
Yeah.
I haven't dated since 2018 because I'm married. So,
You.
if I had to go personal though, from when I was out in these streets, horrible. As personally and my experience with Black men, because that's all I really wanted to be with. I never got chosen to be the girlfriend, but I was ready, to be the fuck buddy. So I never got taken seriously. A lot of people outside of Black men wanted to court me and wanted to do all these things for me, but I was like, no, I want a Black man. So it was harder to find mine. I feel like, but as in general, as a woman, as a Black woman, we get overlooked, we get talked down upon, like always, and it's always the preference argument. When in all reality, we all know what you're really trying to say. So,
Okay. Anyone else? Like I said, just like you're like so you can speak on your personal experience and then generally, like you don't have to go too deep. Just how do you
Yeah,
feel?
you don't have to name his name, right?
Jaquan from third grade. No.
Dating as a Black woman is hard. Dating as a misandrist. I mean, there's a couple of things, right? Like dating as a upwardly mobile, maybe highly educated Black woman is difficult, not for the reasons that women often like state, or like, oh, I just can't find anyone who matches me, right? Like not for those reasons. But because like my I'm not with the shits, right? Like I'm not with you can't just like talk to me any kind of way. You can't hit me with any kind of misogyny. You can't dominate me, and I'm not financially dependent, right? Like so it introduces a set of challenges as a Black woman who is solely interested in dating Black men, because I think that Black men are oftentimes not used to dating Black women like me. Right? Like I think that Black women get socialized to be like really nurturing, really caring, to prioritize Black men. And so like when they run into somebody who's like, nah, no, what you just did right there was some misogynistic bullshit and we gonna talk about it, that's a challenge. Right. If you and it's added to the all the other challenges, right? All the other ladies are gonna name about dating as a Black woman.
Well, I haven't dated in 5 years either because I'm engaged. But I think my experience is layered and leveled too, because I was dating as a Black trans woman and that shit was extra and all types of stuff. And it was aggravating to my whole soul because you had the folks that I think a lot of my annoyance was twofold, because I was being chosen because I wasn't like the rest of the girls, but then I was being fetishized because I wasn't like the rest of the girls. So essentially I was being chosen for the same reason. You just didn't realize it until you realized it. And that was really annoying. It was because it was just like, oh, I didn't know. Then you told me, and then you actually act like a woman. You're ladylike. Like when you get in here, I don't peep these other pieces that I peep when I've been with other women. But it all just boils down to this idea of treating me like a sexual object. And that was if I could find one at all. And I'm very much so like you all. Like I think I went through my phase just because of the trauma of like not wanting to deal with Black men. But I recognized that when I wasn't dealing with Black men, trying to deal with other people, it was even worse because they didn't understand the socialization of being a Black trans woman. So they wanted to do and go and be and touch and and all of the things. And I'm like, we can't, not here. And not because I'm ashamed, but just because like these people could cause harm to us because of this, right? Like this neighborhood is not for that. So it was just really, really difficult. And especially being a Black trans woman that is so public about my transness. Like there are plenty of men that wanted to, but they was just like, oh, but you too open. So I can't even be seen with you because everybody knows that you're trans. Like, and I've even had people who have told me like, why don't I just like shut up about the trans part because I have the ability to shut up about it and nobody would know and then it would be fine. And it's just like I don't want to. I fought too hard for this shit. Like why do I need to like
Let
suppress?
me be me who I am. Let me be who I
Right.
am. Period.
Like I didn't do all of this to go around and be like, like, bitch, this was hard work. Like I had to like really make some difficult decisions and lose some valuable people in becoming myself. So I'll be damned if I'm gonna like let you tell me we're gonna suppress this in order to like for you to give me a ring or for you to make me comfortable. Like that's just not gonna happen. So I think I'm happy that the dating is over, but it was trash. I think just for different reasons. I didn't have an issue finding Black men. I had an issue finding Black men that valued me.
Did you end up partying with a Black man? Just curious.
My man Black.
Okay.
Black.
I would say for me, first and foremost, congratulations, Hope, on your engagement, future wife. And I do think, in my personal opinion, that aside from men who are serial, like R-worders, the worst type of man is the down low man. That is the most weak and dangerous man to everybody around. They are the scariest people to me, aside from white people. So
okay.
I agree with that.
In my experience, the last 3 years have been good to me. I like my little person. It was not
really. She made her blush.
That man is 6'5". He is not a little person. But I would say that I would say the drawback, and I think this is something that I've always experienced. I will say that men have always loved the idea of who I could be. They don't really get to know me. They don't really get to see me. Now, I can honestly say that in my majority of my experiences, except for maybe 2, and I was young in those, and I didn't actually understand half the shit that I was doing. So I take a little bit of accountability for that, but not the accountability for them being trash to me.
Period.
I don't have an issue with being a kept woman. Most times I get men who are very comfortable with me, who are always asking me about my mental health. I was checking for me. And this is my experience. I cultivate a relationship with them that a lot of them tend to want to keep. I have to cut them off a lot of times and, just stop for whatever reasons. But in my experience, even now, even with my current
Your boo thing. Go ahead, say it. Boyfriend.
That's my man.
Yes,
Thank
my
you,
man.
my man.
I just love him so much sometimes. But, and I keep saying sometimes because he gets on my nerves. But I can say that I am now getting, even with me not being available, a lot of men who are trying to overextend themselves. They want to show me who they are. They want to like cater to me. They want to, they shoot hard, And I do think that the widespread of my platform has drawn that. But I also be looking at them kind of how Zimi be looking at them like, you are not a man that I would let have children with me. You are not a man that I would let lead me. You are not a man that I would conform to. You are not a man that I want to do life with. And I don't even want to be in the same social network with you because of how you think.
Period. Okay. And honestly, I feel like before I did get married, and my husband finally took me seriously, and then when my exes saw that he took me seriously and who because I became a kept woman. I was a single mom before, and now I'm a kept woman. I'm still a little harder, that's hard, but like literally when I tell you, it's like they're coming out of the woodworks like roaches. And I'm like, where were them antennas at when I was out on the curb? When I was a free woman, now that I'm, locked in, now you want to come say something? Nah.
I had that same experience, and it was so crazy because prior to, I was in college. I was kind of like, always available. I was always like, hey, I can be your girlfriend if you need me to. Just let me know. After I had left a very terrible situation in college, and that's probably the one that stands out to me the most. Like, even he and he was a very, very terrible person to me. A lot of things I allowed. A lot of times I should have left when I knew I should have left. But even then, he came back and he still felt like he had some form of privilege to me. And I don't play that. I'm very big on my respect. I'm very big on my boundaries, and I'm very big on where you stand in my life. If I close the door and you do not have access anymore, you don't get to pick it up and put me down like I'm a toy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say one of the hard parts is like, so shockingly, I'm a Christian.
Praise
Because
God.
most people expect me to be like, I was raised, I'm Nigerian, raised like extremely religious, not religious like that anymore, but still identify with the faith. And so one of the things that I would say was hard for me dating, especially when I was younger, dating men who also were Christian, which isn't something I require now. But like when I was younger, I was like, oh, we're gonna, be Christian and have
Christian babies.
kids, and but was like, I didn't agree with any of the tenets or ideology, right? So like when men, come into conversations talking about leadership, like, women needing to be led, I'm not lost. Like, my conversation is like, where am I going? And why don't I get to have my say in where we're going? Like, why do you think I need to be led by anybody? Right? Or this idea of submission, like I don't consider men to be the big S word. I don't consider men to be a higher authority or higher power than me. So I don't feel any need to like defer to any man, right? Like I have a brain, it functions. I have been making great decisions for myself all 35 years, right? So like I don't want to be in a situation where someone feels like I have to like defer to them in terms of like decision making. Like, and so one of the things that was difficult was, really wanting a partner, right? Like I'm not interested in submitting to anyone. I'm not interested in being anyone's neck. Like I have a head, you have a head. We could put our two heads together and make something happen. I mean, the neck, the I'm the neck, he's the head. It kills
Right.
me.
It's crazy.
I know.
It kills me. I can't stand when people say that. But shout out to the necks. It's not any like insult to you. But yeah, so it was hard, right? Like, it was really hard dating as like a young, very left-leaning, very liberal Black feminist Christian who wanted to date other Black Christians. And but I've come a long way in my beliefs and my faith, and so that's not necessarily a requirement for me anymore. So that has made dating a lot easier.
And it's crazy. As much as we have had our diverse, oppositions in this conversation, I like resonate a lot with some of the stuff you're saying, because I too hold true to two faiths. I do practice Christianity, and I also practice the Muslim faith. And I did Ramadan for the first time this year. It was great. And I have a Quran, and I also have the Bible in my home. And I grew up missionary Baptist. My dad was a deacon. My mom's choir director. She's the Eastern Star. My cousin is actually the pastor of my church, my home church. But even when it comes down to relationships, how I view them, I always say that there are things that we both do great. And you take what you do great, I take what I do great. We both bring them into the relationship to work towards our end goal. That's how I view relationships. So the positive now, right? I'm so grateful that I do have a trying man, even through the difficulty of his trauma and the things that he has difficulty working with. Trust me, it's been hard. It's been very hard. But he tries with me. And with him being in therapy and I'm in therapy, and shout out to the Black men in therapy who take care of their mental health, there have been a lot of different techniques implemented to try to be better, to want to be heard, to want to listen, to want to understand opposing viewpoints and not shut down. Also, learning to not speak in anger, learning to not speak to attack, and I think that with my platform now, even if him and I were to separate and go our separate ways, I do have preferential treatment with men to where they will listen to me. A lot of women don't have that. A lot of women are not able to get into situations with men, especially the ones who have more so of a close neighboring relationship with incels, because they're now being trained to think a certain type of way. They're being influenced to act a certain type of way. And it's crazy because they're being taught that there has to be a prize, and it has to be their gender. And they're also being taught that women are to do whatever that they say do, and that mindset is so harmful because we cannot cultivate healthy relationships if we're not able to have a conversation with our partner.
So I would say as a man though, if you have to identify yourself as the leader, you're not a leader. Like if you have to try and assert yourself to be something, you're not that something. You're just not. You're just not. Like everybody naturally falls into their roles. So bro, like just to tell you straight up, if you ain't that, you ain't that. Like you can't make her make you that. Like you know what I'm saying? Like a king is not crowned by the queen. A king is a king when he gets there. Like, so you just weren't that. So
Come
just
on.
accept your role.
That made my ass itch, bro.
So just accept your role, bro. I'm
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep it a band.
When you
Like,
say she
Your
disgusted.
role though.
yeah.
Role.
If you ain't it, if you ain't it, you ain't it.
I don't think role is a negative word. Do I
They
subscribe?
fall into your place. Like I feel like honestly, I feel like if I can put into him, if I could speak life into him, I'm helping him. I'm crowning him. Because there are some men that don't have that in themselves, and sometimes they work so hard that they don't even recognize that feeling. So yeah, if you speak life into your man, you're actually crowning him. So yeah, I'm gonna tell my man he can be whatever he want to be. If he want to be a fucking circus clown in a big ass tent riding an elephant, baby, go ahead, do your thing. I'm right here.
That's not
See,
that's
I
not the
think that's
same.
different because
Yeah.
I don't, and this is just me personally, right? I can only speak for myself. I go into conversations to share perspectives. I hear you when you say speaking life into him is crowning him, but I did not give him that crown. I'm helping him to retain it because how I look at it is the same way I come into a situation, an established woman. I'm not going to champion paying bills. I've been doing it way too long. It's not a good feeling, you know. So the same way that I'm operating as a regular functioning adult, making decisions for myself, he doesn't get to have his ego stroked off of him being a fish who can swim as well. So I can promote you into greatness by, you know, reaffirming you in the decisions that you're making and supporting you. But I did not give you your manhood. And I am not the person who solidifies your manhood. You should not be identifying with me in order to get the encouragement and get the dedication and the commitment and the motivation that you need. You should be able to do this without me.
What you should be able to do and what's feasible, because we're human beings and men are a part of the human race, are different. And I think that it's rhetorics like that make it seem like men have to be emotionless machines in order to navigate in relationships. You should come to me and feel safe enough to say, baby, I don't feel like a king today. I don't feel like I ruled shit in this world today. And I feel like low key, the world got the better of me. And you are the person that I trust not to make me feel like an asshat about it. Right. Like I definitely hear what you're saying, Paradise, because I think that there is a time to look that nigga in the face, grab him by the chin and say, hey,
like, all right.
All right, right. You know, we gonna figure this out, but you're not gonna sit here for another day longer, right? But there is a time, and I feel like that's why I was saying that relationship dynamics are ebbs and flows. In the Black community, when we have these conversations, far too often it's about who should do what at what time, as if they have to happen in this very rigid way, as if it can't be a shift. There is gonna be a moment in this relationship where, baby, you came in and you're doing your thing, right? But I think, especially with platforms, Paris, you and I know very well, the right video does the right thing for us, and we got bookings, we got checks, we got all type of stuff that starts to roll in, and we might be doing a little bit better than our partner for 2, 3, 6 months, depending on what the checks are looking like. And in that 2, 3, 6 months when I'm up, he might experience the down. Does that mean that now all of a sudden I am the permanent leader of this household? Absolutely not. But it might mean that for this 6 months, my leadership looks like taking this financial role, means like making the executive decisions because it is coming out of my primary bank account. And then when he gets back on his feet, we resume, right? Those are ebbs and flows. But if I don't even feel like as a man, I could come home and tell you that I need you to ebb and flow with me, but instead I got to lie and I got to figure out how to make it look like I got it all together because I need
shut
to be a
down.
strong man. Right. It's a shutdown. I
think we're talking about two different things. So what I'm speaking to is a man who's already walking in his purpose before I get there. And I'm speaking to, I know that there are men, the only time they feel motivated in life is if they have a relationship with a woman. That's the only time you see him at his best. I do not
Okay.
subscribe to that type
Okay.
of man. I'm not talking about my man's ability to feel comfortable with me or his ability to, speak empathetically with me or be vulnerable. That's
Okay.
I'm speaking to the idea of him being a leader and him need to be his need to be reaffirmed that he is the man because I'm there. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. I do not
Okay.
subscribe to the idea that when a man comes along, now he's all of a sudden given the throne. You already got the
Got you.
throne. And as
Got you.
far as the table is concerned, I always say I don't bring anything to the table for me but me. You tell me what you need in order to cultivate it because the table is yours. You should already have it established. You don't need me. If I was not here, you should feel confident in your manhood. Even if I feel like I'm the baddest thing walking, you should feel confident in your manhood based off of the character that you have and your persona that you can go get another me just like that.
Because the flip side of that, Paris, is women feeling like they have to diminish themselves so their men feel like men, right? So I understand what you're saying, Paris, about like, don't wrap your manhood up in me, because sometimes that
You need
what
to have
that
your
has
own
looked like
personality in your
is,
individual.
I gotta diminish myself so you can feel like the man. It's like, nah, you should have that down packed, right? Like, because that's a heavy burden to bear. Like the burden of someone's masculinity resting or manhood resting on you, that's a lot. I don't think it's fair.
And I don't think that it's reasonable. Like I said, I know one too many men that I've seen. He's at his best when he gets a girlfriend. He's heavily codependent on just having a woman in general. It doesn't matter who the woman is, right? You see him in and out of relationships, because his whole likelihood is functioning off of femininity. It's functioning off of him being able to have that soft, caring, nurturing identity with him all the time. You don't see him with the job until he got a woman. You don't see him with his kids until he got a woman. You don't see him being a productive and a helpful human being at all until there is a woman around. So that is what I was speaking to. And I think it is very important that we do acknowledge men being able to be vulnerable with us and not being able to, weaponize their emotions against them. But when I heard Whitney say, hey, I'm crowning him, I took that in a different realm. Like, no, I'm not going to give you that crown. You keep that crown. You had that crown. It didn't come from me. I'm just gonna keep reaffirming things.
Well, let me say, I'll help you adjust it. I'm here to help you adjust when it gets a little crazy.
I'm not crowning you. You need to do that on your own. I don't know how you got to that throne.
Yeah. So I wanted to throw out something. First of all, way back at the start of this question, Paris said that men ask about our mental health. I took that to mean, are you crazy? I'm like, that's rude. That can't be the case. But I want to ask though, I think it's unanimous here that all of you said that you wanted to partner with Black men. At least I believe it's unanimous. Why is it? What'd you say?
I'm not gonna have it any other way.
Okay, yeah. So I want to know why. Why is that the case? And do you think some type of way about Black women who don't, right? Who may be partnered with white men or otherwise?
I don't want to have to explain my bonnet. I don't want to have to explain my bonnet, my edge control, my wigs, my none of that. I don't want to have to explain none of my Black ass products to nobody. And he just need to look at them, understand, oh yeah, my mama got that, and then go about his business. Don't ask me about nothing.
I mean, for me, I feel like patriarchy exists, misogyny exists. So at the very least, I can fight this uphill battle and not have to also then explain racism and white supremacy to a certain extent. Right? It's just,
all right.
It's a lot going on.
That makes sense.
And so, we could work through your misogyny in this relationship. But what I'm not about to do is have conversations with you about like, did the white person really mean it? Were you really turned over for that promotion?
What you say to my auntie?
That's
right. Yeah, that's too much.
Hey, I'm with you. I'm with you there.
And plus the way that when I was growing up, how we weren't chosen, and finally being appreciated by a Black man, and I finally, grab that. Wasn't letting that go. I was, yeah, no.
Yeah, and also white ice is not colder. White men do the same shit. It drives me nuts when people are be like you know the girlies who date interracially, which I actually have no problem with. I don't care.
Yeah, that's
Date who you
cool.
want. Black women can date who they want. I feel a little bit differently when it's black men, but there are reasons for that.
Interesting. I want to
I
ask
said
about
it.
that later
I
on.
said it.
So,
I
yeah,
said it.
definitely.
But yeah, the girls who are like, oh, because my white man, it's like, girl, he grew up in the same patriarchal system as the black one. It's the same shit, right? Like the only difference is your white man, you know, you also gotta like worry about like white supremacy and racism, right? So
Hope.
So I got two, and the first one is real sad, but it meant a lot to me. White sex don't feel good.
You said it. There you have it, folks.
Jackrabbits. They're jackrabbits.
For any white men who sub to my channel, I don't endorse this. I'm just out there.
Quick
But go ahead.
pumpas. Quick pumpas.
wait, Hope, do you mean spiritually or you mean literally? Like,
Thank you for asking for the
Yeah, both
clarity,
of 'em.
because it was more of a spiritual thing. It is.
got it. Okay.
It doesn't feel good to my soul, and the rhythm ain't never right. You know what I'm saying? Like it's never there. Like the smell ain't even the same. The smell doesn't set off. So yeah, there's a smell, and like when we do it, it always. My thing is, I want y'all to think about any
What it smell
sexual
like.
experience you've had with another Black person.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there like the softest hint of cocoa butter or shea in the room? Even if both of y'all done been out all day.
Smell like
He just smells so good. Like my husband smells
There's
so good all the
something
time. I'm like,
about
ooh,
Black
love your
bodies
funk.
engaging that just got like, I don't know if it's just our pheromones that's telling us something while Black sex is happening, but there's a different thing spiritually that I couldn't shake, and I decided like at that point that it wasn't going to be for me because I wasn't going to have bad sex for the rest of my life. That was just not going to be the thing. But I think also it's a lot of what both of you ladies are saying. I don't like having to explain all of the nuances of me on top of the fact that I got to tell you about transmisia in the world. And then I got to be worried about whether or not your people going to be racist or transmissic. I ain't got time.
It's so much.
It's too much. Like I don't have time. And then
It's
on top of that,
exhausting.
I know my people's cues. I know my folks' cues when auntie don't like you because she just don't like you, or because she got a problem with you being a man in a wig. I don't know Carol's understanding or how she gonna pull it out on the bag of me. And Carol's way of not liking me might be to sit in my face the entire night and patronize me while talking shit about me with Janet and over wine at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I'm not gonna do that. Like we not about to. And so I'd rather go where I know what transgressions look like so that I can avoid them. And I don't have to explain or wonder about the racism and all of that stuff on top of it, than to be constantly worried about what this meant, what that meant. I don't get it. I haven't been around long enough. And then the sex don't feel good. So I'm just, I can't.
Yeah, and it's the undercover racism too, because as soon as you piss them off, I'm all type of nigga bitches. And come on, man. Like, be for real. No, for real, that's happened to me before. Like I pissed them off and I was, oh.
With a partner, with a romantic partner. Wow.
Yeah, like it's crazy work. I thought I was your little brown sugar, your little ebony queen a minute ago.
You should have seen the signs. It was there. Like they man started calling you my beautiful black Hershey bar. You should have known it was coming.
Paris. Oh, Paris got a chance to answer that question.
Well, my answer is simple. I just love Black men. It don't get no different than that. I'm not worried about explaining my culture. I'm not worried about racism. You can't run from racism. It's going to be there. Even if there was a white man who expressed a romantic interest or an attraction to you, that doesn't negate racism, because even if he's not racist, you guys are still going to have a racist experience. And then it heightens when you change proximity of your social climate. You know, so the expectation that it won't be there, you actually just increased it, because interracial couples, they experience a whole nother different sector of life They see lenses differently. But for me, my answer is I love black men. It will always be black love supremacy. It will always be keep the bloodline pure. My children are going to have 4 grandchildren. End on that. And I don't think that ideology is harmful at all because white people do it. And if
it's at the end of the day, your kids are going to do whatever they want to do anyway. So we can preach that all day.
Children, I'm talking about me and my womb. And my womb is cultivated for a black man. My womb is prepared for a black man. My heart is meant for a black man. And when my children grow up and they have their own ideas of life and they get to see everything, I'm going to support my children, but they will absolutely have the same sentiment and understanding about interracial dating and their ideas. However they choose to take that walk is on them. However, the education will be there for them to make that decision. But I'm talking about me. My love ain't meant for nothing but a black man. I'm their problem, and they gonna deal with it. Even if they
Period. She's like, I'm their problem.
I gotta ask before we walk away from this, because I'm sure Bam has somewhere else he wants to take us. But Zimi, because you said it, you talked about how like you don't care that of black women getting interracial marriages or relationships, but you have some sort of feeling about black men, which I think is super interesting. I've heard this before, and I'm curious why you feel that way.
And the caveat should be, I'm not talking about like weird black women who be like, oh, I want like, whiteness over everything. That's just weird, of course, right? Yeah. I'm just talking about like you happen to mad weird. Like that's a whole nother conversation. Mad weird. I'm talking about just like interracial, you just happen to be with a white man. I don't have a problem with it because I know people hate this, but the numbers have been borne out. There are not enough single black men for every black woman who would like a black man, right? It's not a matter of opinion. It's not I think. It just when you look at like what's considered eligible or marriageable, which is like the terminology they'll use in the research, when you look at black men of a certain age, like marriageable age, educational background, which is typically like a high school diploma or more. So we're not even getting to like college degrees. Just, can you survive? Do you have a high school diploma? Are you of a certain age? Are you not currently incarcerated? Because you can be married or you can get married while you're incarcerated. It's just a lot more difficult. So they're looking at people who are not incarcerated. Once you go down a list, I believe the numbers are like for white men and white women, it's literally almost 1-to-1, that ratio. When it's with black men and black women, that ratio jumps to like 1 black man for every 7 eligible, marriageable black women. It's not possible, right? So I can't be upset with someone who's like, look, I've been looking, I've tried, I date black men, I'm open to all. And I can't find one because I know the numbers. And the numbers literally say they're just not there, right? Okay, so now, this isn't
Dr. Umar would tell you to go to Africa.
Just real quick, let me just say this. This isn't to say that there aren't systemic reasons, right? Because so that's where some of the like the weirdo black girls lose me when they're like, oh, it's because black men. No, there are reasons why black men are over incarcerated, right? They're systemic, they're structural racism. Like there are reasons why black men are undereducated.
Any other demographic.
There are structural reasons that are beyond the control of black men that lead to there being fewer marriageable black men, but it doesn't change the fact that there are fewer of them. And so I think black men have more options when it comes to black women, right? Like literally, there's one of you for every 7. So to me, it feels more like a choice.
It doesn't feel like that on Tinder. I'm putting that out there. It doesn't feel like that on Tinder.
Why are you still on Tinder, bro? Why are you still on Tinder? That's my first question, Prom. Why are you still on Tinder?
Dating apps aside, right? Black men have more, period. And it's not a matter of opinion, matter of fact, you have more options when it comes to black women. So it is a very strategic and I think political choice as a black man to not date black women. And I wish more black men would be honest about that.
Well, let me say this. Not sorry to who this offends, I don't support interracial dating. Now, it does not mean that if you were to do it, that I would be nasty to you or mistreat you. But no, I personally feel like black people who date down everything minus the diaspora, like you're the weakest link. you definitely are the weakest link. And you find that those people have the most to say about what's happening in the Black community with everything going on Black, but they're nowhere near it. And when it comes to whether it's a Black man or a Black woman, what I have found when it comes to Black men that date outside of their race interracially, which is a very small number, it's really a minuscule number for both, for Black women and Black men. It's not a threat, but specifically when they date outside their race, they take their wealth and they go outside their race and they adapt. Majority of the time, those men adapt their livelihood to the woman's culture. When it comes to Black women, they find themselves trying to mitigate between the two. And it still isn't as successful. You find that biracial children still have the most struggles integrating in society and finding their identity. I think that knowing that information is very selfish for parents to do, off of the contingency of your happiness, because we know what the divorce rates are. They're based off of everybody's happiness. You know, the number one reason is because of irreconcilable differences under the umbrella of happiness. So you're still not necessarily getting a fixer-upper. Now, what Zimi mentioned was like the weird ones. Now we have a very harmful group of women called divestors. And now those divestors, yes, if you don't know.
I've never heard that. Yeah, I've never heard
Okay,
that.
so divestors are
They're a
specific.
group.
YouTube them. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
specifically
Or don't.
a hateful Black group of women who pride specifically Black women dating not only interracially, but with white men. They specifically want to grow and connect with white men. Now, I do not know how their plan is going to work, because never in life will white women relinquish their power and give up their man. But they also champion to have a mass genocide of Black male babies and Black male boys in the event that they happen to start growing older and get violent. I do not stand for stuff like that. I do not at all. They literally run off of Black girl and Black women supremacy. A lot of times they weaponize the femicide rate. A lot of times it's fear mongering about Black women's interactions with Black men as to recruit. They have big, like Zimi mentioned, the hotep, but the divestors, they literally have a recruitment process. And honestly, just being candid, anytime you're telling me something is wrong with me as me dating a Black man that looks like me and we're majority, you're the weirdo. You need a recruitment process for you to go date interracially. You're the weirdo. So if people
That sounds
choose
like a whole bunch of hurt.
that's fine. But I
Paris,
just want them to keep Black people out the process when they do.
but Paris, if the statistic that our friend Zimi said was correct about like 1 to 7 or around those numbers in favor of Black men, and there's just so few of them who are marriageable, then like, are you saying that it is preferable that those Black women who can't partner just like don't partner, period, when there are other options, there are other people available?
Well, I don't even attach myself to those Black women. I think that they're harmful. I think that they're ignorant. And
No, not the divestors, not divestors. I'm just saying that like, if
the
there
women
are
do not carry the mentality of divestors. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm just talking about regular Black women, right? If it is the case that mathematically there's simply not enough eligible Black men, then like, would it be preferable, like considering your ideology that you just stated, would it be preferable that they not partner at all rather than partnering outside their race?
No, because you can literally date all down the diaspora. As of today, it's cool to be Black. So, of course, we're calling Afro-Latinas. They're Black when they want to be Black. You know, we're calling Mexicans Black when they want to be Black.
Hey.
Oh, no, I don't stand for that. Oh, no. Ain't no Mexican.
Hey,
Afro-Latinas are real, though. They're real.
Definitely a real thing.
They're real.
What I'm saying is, okay, here, when you're in America, right? A lot of times with places such as New York and Florida, and what is that called? California, places like that, those are huge melting pots. That's not the masses of America. Those huge melting pots where you have a wide variety of cultures, and you have a lot of people that are integrated with each other all the time. That is a very common thing. New Yorkers, et cetera, et cetera. So even knowing that Afro-Latinas, right, you know, Dominicans and Haitians, well, Haitians, of course, Black, and Cubans, you have white presenting Cubans, and you have Black presenting Cubans, all of this other dynamics. A lot, and that's not taking away race and ethnicity, not one of the same, a lot of times they perpetuate the idea of blackness in America. I'm not talking about what their race or ethnicity is. I'm talking about the idea to be black in America. We see it in the music. We see it in the clothes and the fads. We see it in every ethnic group. Asians want to be black when they get ready. That's what I mean. Not necessarily that they are not black, right? That's not their ethnicity, but they perpetuate cosplay blackness. That's what I mean. So to clean that up. Now, going back to the question, you can literally go outside of the US to get what you need. Brazil, Colombia, Africa is a huge continent. Go have your pick. But to insinuate that it's not enough, it's only not enough in America. You can move around. You may not want to subscribe to another person's culture, but if it means that much to you to get married, why would you go do all of that hard work with a white man when you would have to do it for another man anyways?
So, in respect for people's time, I got one more. There was a few other questions, but I'll ask this one, and we can kind of just go forward from there. And let's start to wrap up. But, what do you hope the future holds for little black girls, and what do you think needs to happen to achieve it?
I hope.
Misandrist. I'm sorry.
Oh Jesus!
Y'all time to rise.
No, I hope that I want to see more love within ourselves. Teaching how, teaching little black girls how to love themselves a little bit better, and not having to look up to outside forces, to look up to themselves and to see themselves as, the influence instead of others, and trusting in themselves. And I really want that to happen for real, for real.
Man, I feel like I want so much for little
Right.
black girls. Like, that's a hard question. I mean, obviously there's like self-love, self-worth, self-esteem, but like I want to see the material conditions of little black girls change, right? Like I want little black girls to be receiving the best education. I want them to have access to adequate and proper health care and good nutrition. Like I want the world for little black girls. And I also, the misandrist in me wants to see little black girls take shit from nobody. Right? Like you are not meant to be subservient or a servant to anybody. Like I want if I could summarize it, I want little black girls to take up space. And I want them to do it with attitude, right? Like I don't want little black girls to be worried about, well, like how am I going to be stereotyped, and how take up space, do it with full charge, and do it with attitude, right? In addition to like real changes around their material conditions.
I think I want little black girls to be able to see black women in real places of power, creating real spaces of change. Because I feel like you are more inspired to be the things that you can see. And I'm seeing little black girls wanting to be judges and doctors more often, right? I'm seeing all of that start to shift, and I'm seeing more little black girls like get into sports and be all of those things because now they are seeing it. And so now we've gotten a vice president. Like I want our little black girls to see a black woman president, like doing it and making big decisions and making big changes. And I want them to see a future where breast cancer is curable by a black woman, like that type of shit. Like I want them to see big shit, right? Because I feel like we got an opportunity to see big shit. We are seeing droves of black women doctors. We're seeing droves of black women scientists. Like we are getting a little glimpse of what I think history is going to look like. And I just want them to be able to see something even greater than that. Like I want them to be coming home to us on whatever floating iPad pops out of their fucking forearm, like, and showing us the video of these black women that are out here, shaking shit up. And we be looking like, y'all remember when we was happy with a vice president, bitch? Like, I'm excited for that. So I think that would be what I want to see.
All is cool. I don't want none of that shit for them. I want black girls to have a soft life and remain kids as long as they can. And I want them to do that free of judgment. That's what I want. And whatever that looks like in a comfortable, safe space for them, that's what I want to see going forward. But I want them to be able to do that, knowing that they are loved, giving love out to each other, giving love out to little black boys, giving respect out to each other, and giving respect out to little black boys and their counterparts. And I also want them to be able to have a soft life and be a little black girl without judgment, living carefree as long as they possibly can, with little worry. Right? I feel like a lot of times the complex of we have to fix everything is still early. We learn to rock a baby before we learn to even take care of ourselves. And I feel like that's a generational curse where we're always learning to be a babysitter really soon. We're getting intertwined and picking up the pieces of whomever does or does not have the kids around. And I think that a lot of times it takes away from us to just really be able to grow and experience childhood. So that's what I would love to see. I would love to see little black girls be able to have more healthy, catered, safer experiences being children without being sexualized, without being abused, without being harmed, without experiencing violence, and without being disrespected or being made fun of.
Thank y'all so much
Yeah.
for like doing this. I super enjoyed this. I felt like this. Yeah, I knew it was gonna be great, but like it was even better than I expected. Like I said, I mean, Smooth, you can do your outro. I give each of y'all an opportunity to say a little outro on what your thoughts on the conversation. I hope y'all, enjoyed yourself as much as I did. And obviously, I understand people, especially with people's busy schedules, but I would love to do something similar in the future at later dates. I think this was just really fun group.
I'm down. I ain't doing shit.
I don't know. Y'all got any thoughts before we do outros?
Yeah, outros.
Outros, yeah. Let's go.
Okay.
Thank y'all. I appreciate being here. I know it was quiet, but I love absorbing everybody's opinion and everybody's thought processes that are different than mine. So I really love and I really enjoyed the conversation.
Mhm.
Thank you
Tina,
guys.
where can people find you? Also, if you want people.
Oh
to find you.
yeah. Again, at 420 Artist Whitney on all social media platforms. Get some art, get a reading, any one of those.
Zimi, or just go online.
Yeah, I had a great time. I really enjoyed the conversation. And you can find me at Zimi. It's so unoriginal. Zimi is my name and birthday. 22 on Instagram or Twitter. And actually, I want to say you don't know me, Hope, but like I remember you from Ghetto Ass Clubhouse. And I've always thought you were super brilliant. And while you were talking, you said the word transmissic. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Let me Google that shit real quick. So it was an honor to get a chance to be on this with you. And I love getting to meet you, Paris and Whitney. And thank you for inviting me, Bam. And nice to meet you, Smooth and Prime as well.
She still hate niggas. Y'all see? But we a little bit better. We
Do
did
I
good.
hate niggas?
Look,
Yes.
No hesitation.
Not at all. He was like,
Not at all.
well, that didn't go with the plan.
I am crying. I enjoyed being in this space with you ladies. It was really dope. The exchange was dope and respectful and challenging. And I loved all of us also being able to come to grips and clarify things without people even asking for the need to clarify. It was dope. And I can't wait for whatever the next conversation is going to be because I love being able to not agree, but pull positivity out of the conversation. Like, it is all good. We can still be cool. But y'all can find me at Hope Giselle on all of my social media. And I'm going to plug my book. This is my baby. It is called Until I Met Black Men. And it is available on all of the places where you can find books. Amazon does have it. Yes, it is a part of the Prime order.
Girl, let me go order.
can you put the link in the private chat or in one of your chats? Yeah, just so we can
super
add
gonna
to the
buy
group.
that.
Yeah, I can do that. But yeah, so make sure y'all pick up a copy. I have it on Kindle and paperback. So yeah.
Mhm.
Paris,
I
please.
guess you're gonna save me for last. Your favorite controversial content creator. Some of y'all may not be so much of your favorite, but that's okay. Of course, you can find me on Twitter, my baby at _Paradise Paris 1. Here on YouTube, just landed in Paris. On TikTok at _Paradise Paris. On Facebook and Instagram at Paradise Paris. All my business inquiries at contact.paradiseparis@gmail.com. I look forward to working with some of you later in the future, maybe, possibly. And it's been a wonderful experience. I always enjoy getting into conversations where I can learn and I'm not the smartest person in the room and bounce off different perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay.
yeah, like I said, Smooth is your show. You can take us out.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so listen, if y'all have enjoyed this episode, you know what I'm saying, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe to me. Make sure you sub to Prime. You know what I'm saying. If you're watching over there on Twitch, can't leave that alone. Also, make sure you sub and like on Paradise Paris' platform, because I realized she's streaming as well. Yeah, hey, this has been episode
And
number.
shout out to Bam.
200.
Before that, we got to shout.
Oh yeah,
Bam.
yeah,
I don't-
yeah.
I
And
don't
shout
do
out-
anything.
shout out-
No, it's fine. But no, it's fine. Bam.
yeah, no, but for real, no, Prime, you're right. Hey, shout out
Yeah.
to Bam, shout out to Bam for pulling this together, getting
Yeah.
a group of people together, because
Yay.
this is all his idea. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Yeah.
so anyway, listen, this is Ask a Black Girl, episode number 247 of the Homeroom Smooth podcast. We up out of here. Catch y'all later.
So,
All right.
I
I
was
gotta
like,
go
no,
see my
Prime is
kids.
still
Now we're in
live.
the
yeah, I'm still
after-
live. So
I'm still live too. I'm still live too.
Yeah, just don't.
Yeah,
don't
I
say
just
it. Whitney,
after
you were
hours.
about to
Yeah,
say
I
something
know.
awful. Don't do it.
Yeah, I know Whitney was. I know Whitney was. She wasn't used to that. She wasn't ready. She wasn't ready for me to keep streaming. I know it. Because people thought we were done. People thought we were
But
done.
if you wanna talk, I could turn off my stream. That's like not a problem.
Nah. What do you want to talk about?
Nothing. I was just gonna say I gotta go feed my kids. Bye.
Oh,
Okay, well then talk to you later then.
Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, fellas, we did it.
Yeah. This was good. This is solid. This is
Shout
solid.
out
Hold
to
on.
my
Let me
man, Bam.
let me do this like that. So
Yeah.
Jesus
All right.
Christ. That was
I kind of like being intimate with you guys like that.
I don't know. That was way too like
uh,
this is too close. Like, too close for me. Too close for me, dog.
But
Man.
yeah, I shout out to Bam. Honestly, Bam's the one who came up with this, and
Yeah.
he made it all happen. He put the legwork in, so I just want to make sure that everyone knows that. Shout out to my man Smooth, who helped host this.
The
Yeah,
host with the most.
yeah, man.
Man. Hey, so I do want to ask you about what you were saying earlier.
Okay.
Like, could you explicitly call me out? And I'm like, wait, I'm like, I don't like,
You
I'm
did take a whole
pretty-
shot. You did.
Yeah, I know. Like, took a whole shot at me, and I'm like,
You
wait a minute.
asked them, right? You asked them like, well, like I'm right here. You said, right? So come at me, right? Like find like the black conservative in me. So I'm like, okay, well, I got evidence. Like Zimi might not know. I don't know if you have an experience with Zimi. I'm not sure if you know her.
No, I don't.
But,
I don't.
Yeah. So she don't know, but I
Right.
know. So like you asked for it. So I was like, all right, well, here it is. I would have brought it up otherwise, but you specifically asked for it.
Oh, he has to get in. Hold on. Let me send. Hey, somebody send Dream the link. I gotta find my Discord on my phone.
got you.
I'll do it.
Oh,
I got
okay.
it.
If you fast.
Okay, somebody
Yeah, I
send
got
Dream the link and let him in here. But okay. So with that being said, I forget exactly what it was about, but from my opinion on my side. Okay, hold on, wait, hold on, because Paris ain't even on here no more. Hey, so listen, y'all that are watching on Paris' stream, y'all can come watch the rest of this on Homeroom with Smooth if you want to. She just didn't log out of her own stream, so I'm gonna log out for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
All
cool.
Walk back by the screen naked or something.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at it. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? All right. So listen. With that said, with what you were saying, like I don't even really remember it all the way, but I was just like, bro, like I'm not. That's not me. Like that's like me.
Yeah.
Like For
That
instance,
was-
a lot of
that
the
was-
no, so a lot of the conversations we have, I take a position of like, okay,
Devil's advocate.
this is not what's there. Well, this is not what's available in the
That wasn't what
conversation.
that
So
was.
therefore,
That was not
No.
us because you talked because this was from your experience. You were talking about like how you've interacted with other black women in your life. Like, so this wasn't used as saying like,
Mhm.
well, I'm just talking about this stance. You're like, this is what I did. This is what I said to them. So I'm assuming you weren't lying about that.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
feel
why-
like you definitely believe some women be hoes. Like,
Wait,
so okay,
that's a
okay.
fact.
It depends. No. It depends on the
Goddamn,
context and the connotation of the conversation. All right, that is what it really depends on. The context and the connotation of the conversation. That's what it
My-
depends on.
My thing
Because
is,
depending on the
what kinda-
conversation, then maybe I might have said something that might have lended to that credence. But it depends on what the actual conversation was and why I said what I said.
We were
It's not
talking
that's
about- so-
not my holistic belief.
I didn't, but that's the point. That was literally the point of what I was trying to say, was that this isn't all of you, right? Like that I'm not reducing you down to that. That like it was
Right.
a very contentious conversation between you two, and you're frozen. Your camera's frozen on my screen. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
frozen on mine too.
yeah. Okay. But yeah, this wasn't me saying that you are a terrible person, that you are automatically classified as a hotep or anything like that, right? I'm just saying that like we're talking about whether these, and you're still frozen. That whether black men oh, there you are. You're good.
Okay.
I think you're good.
Yeah,
now.
I fixed it.
Black men had these conservative ideals. Like, okay, well, this is an example of you having those ideals. And I
Right.
remember this conversation. You said that women in your life, right? They've come to you to have private conversations, and they talked about like the things they've done, like the sexual things they've done, and they felt guilt about that, right? And then your response to them wasn't just like, well, I mean, like, hey, like everyone gets involved in as an adult, like, you know, sex is a complicated matter, and like kind of figure things out for yourself, and you know, you should have room to explore, and maybe guilt is not the path to go. You were like, no, yeah, you're absolutely right, you've done something wrong, don't do that again. This isn't exactly your words, but that's the sentiment that you were giving out.
Yeah, because so okay, in the context that I gave that conversation, it's probably in regards to a few friends that were dealing with guys that they told me up front were trash, and they kept dealing with him, and then afterward they're telling me after the fact that they feel like trash, and I'm like, yes, you feel like trash because you dealt with trash. Therefore, if you knew it was trash and you knew it was probably bad for you, you probably should separate yourself from that situation. Therefore, no, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be nice to you and say, oh, you shouldn't have did that. I'm going to talk to you like you're my homeboy and tell you like, bro, you did a wrong thing.
If that is the case, then you did not intimate that from you. So I'm gonna just go by your word, right? And you're saying that's how you felt, okay? But like we had a very long conversation. It was like an hour of us going back and forth. This was
So are you
intense,
talking about that
and you
night
never
on the stream
mentioned
where
any of
it's
that.
just me and you on the stream? Because
wasn't
I was
just-
drunk as if it was
No,
just
it wasn't
me.
just me and you.
No. I mean, there was probably one dude in the upper corner, right? And it was me and you. Like it was not that many people. Once we went into after hours, I distinctly remember a night where you were like going off on me, and I was drunk as hell.
I've gone
But
off
I
on you
remember.
a few times, but like it's
No.
not just one time.
That after
But, like,
hours, I remember.
Okay, but like, yeah, so I don't know which time. In my head, I think there was like a mostly full panel there, but like there was a long time ago, so I don't hold me to that.
Right.
But my understanding, but I just remember our conversation, and we went at it for a long time, and you didn't say anything about like, oh, it's just like they were with a trash guy. The focus of the conversation, to my recollection, is about like their sexual practices, them sleeping around, right? And then you saying, yeah, you should feel guilty about that. Don't do that again. That like, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily about sleeping around, and I'm gonna let Dream get in after this because I felt like he got something to say. It's not necessarily about them sleeping around. It's the choices of the men they chose to sleep around with. Sleeping around isn't necessarily bad if you're sleeping around with good quality people, like cool. But if you're sleeping around with people that are inherently bad, You know what I'm saying? And you're getting bad outcomes over and over again. It's like, yo, what are you fucking doing? Like at some point, I have to tell you that as your friend, I have to hold you accountable.
I agree with you then. If that's what you were trying to say, I didn't get that from that conversation. But if you're saying that, then I agree with you.
Hey, I was hella drunk. So I'm not even.
I don't
think
you weren't drinking this night.
Drunk man tells no tales.
No. Most of your streams I drink because it's like 3 hours.
More
like
fun
bro,
that way,
like
huh?
Okay, well,
like no, I'm just being dead ass. Like even my own podcast, like back in the day, like I was drinking a whole lot. Like I had to cut that shit out.
I'm glad you did, brother.
Yeah, same here. You want to say something, Dream?
So Dream, what are your thoughts?
I think you should have pushed back more under Misandry. I don't know why y'all didn't, bro.
Well, because
first of all, come on. There's Prime and then there's Bam. Like that wasn't gonna happen.
You wouldn't allow us to be a misogynist, and you just don't push back on us, Prime. I think this is like.
Oh, I didn't want to take up the panel. Like I thought it was about the women. So like
this is a place for them to share their perspective. This wasn't a place to like fight.
We weren't trying to debate them. Yeah. I like when I jumped in, it was just like I felt I was trying to add to the conversation rather than like saying like you're wrong or whatever, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, but you just have different philosophies. And if I hear anything like ist, I always have to speak up and push back so I can at least put a wrench in their brain and so they can think about it later.
And also I don't think anything was that unfair. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think was actually misandrist?
Yeah.
I wrote it down. She said that a black woman can date whoever, but I have a
Prime did
black man. Yeah, what did you say?
Yeah, I specifically
he didn't push. He just like he was curious, you know, like what.
Yeah, I asked her to expand on that.
And what she say?
I hope I don't butcher anything, but she was like, "Well, it's actually not really that she has like a problem within that, like it shouldn't happen." She was talking about that black men have like a bit of like a responsibility because of like how many marriageable black men, and she defined that, but like marriageable black men they are compared to marriageable black women, and that like the statistics are off. Like according to her words, it's like in the white population that's like a 1-to-1 statistic.
She's just
ratio.
Wrong.
But then and then she said for black men, and she didn't have the stat in front of her, but she was like it was like 1-to-7, like some way off number. And she was like, well, if that is the case, if it is the case that there are a lot less marriageable black men, that they should be with black women, right? Then they should be there, like not take themselves out of the population.
And I know, like I know it is true though. Like they're men.
No. It's just not true.
No, I'm literally gonna go like step by step. Why? It's objectively true that there are more women than men in every.
No. It's not true when you're talking about never married, no kids, bachelor candidates. So like those like three criteria for like marriage is like there's way more men that fit that criteria because there are more women than men, but a lot more women have kids and than there are men because one man can impregnate way more women, right? So it's like a lot of women are impregnated by the same man. So you have a lot of other men that never impregnated any woman who are single. And so there's way more men without kids.
I don't know if kids would make you unmarriable. I don't know if that's like
it's not about being unmarriable necessarily, but we're talking about the caliber of the highest quality of men being eligible for marriage.
There are more high quality because
there are more high quality marriageable men than there are higher quality marriageable women, just because of the fact that there are more men that don't have kids than there are women.
Maybe, but that's now you're saying something different than what was said. I don't know if that's true, but that's different. She's just saying marryable in general.
What is marryable? If it's not based on quality, then what the fuck is it based on?
It's 18, high school diploma, and like not in jail. I think.
Yeah, like not.
But okay, so look, but even when you say that not in jail part, right? We've already discussed and established previously in the conversation itself, men and women both agreed that men are locked up more. Therefore, yes, it would be disproportionately that you would have less men available for women that have.
Which is what she
said. She said that too. She said there's systemic reasons for it. She said there's like
no, and I'm not even disagreeing with that point. Like, but it makes logical sense. Like
Yeah.
we reached a very logical conclusion there.
Like we can ask her for a source, but like it seemed like.
And
Yeah,
the fact,
that's
like I said, just the fact that adding the fact on top of that, they like that there just are more women. Like even if everyone was like
Yeah.
100% perfect, there's just more women than men.
But my thing is, you're putting an arbitrary criteria on diploma, not in jail. And,
these aren't arbitrary. These aren't arbitrary. Come on, don't do that. This is not arbitrary.
Hold on. I'm saying like, wait. You need a high school diploma to be a marriageable, good person, and
so like
to be able to sustain the marriage.
Yeah, when we're talking about
why do you need that?
Excuse me, when we're talking about marriageability, like
What if you have a GED?
Some criteria that like just that people use when they're evaluating each other, right?
Yeah,
one of them is not being in jail. That is one of them.
Sure.
One of them is having a high school diploma.
Nobody asked that. People ask if you have a job.
Do you work?
Yeah,
you sustain yourself. If you do as an entrepreneur without having a high school diploma, why do I?
Sure, but that's so niche.
Like I don't know why
so
you're
it's not a
arguing with me about this.
I'm not
it's
arguing
like a
with
weird thing. I'm saying that like this is what people look for, right?
But-
and they may
but
not say specifically, "Hey,
that's
like
the
you can
point,
get your
though.
high school diploma. Let me see your high school diploma." But these are the things that go through their mind when they're like there are plenty of women, and you can argue with them. But plenty of women, if they find out a guy doesn't have at least a high school diploma, that they are going to be less attracted to them.
Oh,
right.
So
like,
I wouldn't even say
no.
I'm disagreeing.
You actually just made my point for me, Prime. Less attracted to them if they don't have a certain requirement. One of those requirements is having a kid.
Kids. That's what.
Not having a kid.
There. I'm not even talking about attraction.
So
I think
my
high
point
school diploma.
So my point stands. I don't know why you disagree with it.
I'm disagreeing with you.
No. According to Prime's logic, it stands. You would agree with that, Reb?
Why do you think, Conan? Why do you think that what you just said conflicts with what I just said? Like, yeah, it doesn't.
No. I'm saying I'm saying it makes no sense for you to disagree with what I said since it doesn't conflict.
Because if you agree with what he's saying, then that means there's less men.
The thing I specifically disagreed with you on, right? You're talking about like it's arbitrary to have like to make a high school diploma like a part of this calculation. I'm saying that's not an arbitrary.
No. I'm saying it's arbitrary if you don't include not having kids. Like, sure, I agree.
She didn't give us an exhaustive list. I'm not the person. No. I'm just saying that she didn't give us an exhaustive list.
It's not about the exhaustive list. It's that she limited the list to make it more eligible women than men. But if you include one of the most reasonable things, which is having kids, you would have way more eligible men than women.
You got it. Okay, you got it. Like we're not the ones to have this conversation with. Like you have to ask her about her source, and then because maybe that's included. It might be included. I don't know. Maybe something that's included in that list is never being previously divorced. Right? That might be on the list. I don't know. But like,
well, I mean,
that one thing isn't arbitrary. So that's
it. I would fundamentally say that being previously divorced is probably not on there, just because the statistical odds of Black people being even married, like getting to the point of marriage, is like lower than every other demographic. Like we don't marry at the same rate that everybody else marries. We just don't.
But like,
I think by the time a Black woman's 50, like I'd say women, because men have higher rates of it, or actually Black men have really low rates of marriage.
Also,
I think by the time of Black women are like 50,
right.
I think 75 or 80% have been married at least once. But the reason why I'm not including kids, or the reason why, like the thing about the high school diploma, I don't think it's about attraction. I think it, like, you can say that, like, oh, there's people without high school diplomas that are like our entrepreneurs and make tons of money, but I think that's like, I think you're talking about a really, really niche thing versus like if we talk about employment in the United States of America, generally you're going to speak to either a high school diploma or a GED, but it's just a requirement for like so many jobs.
Right? No.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with that. Like, people look for some type of level of education.
But I'm not saying that like was looking for. I'm saying like it would probably be a necessity to like maintain a household.
Sure. It's a how do you say? It's a probabilistic necessity. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you there, but I'm saying it's also a probabilistic preference, just based on if you're a single woman, you probably want a man that you want to start fresh with and build a family with, right? If you have no kids, so you're also looking for a man without the kids, and same for men. If you want to start fresh, have a new family, you probably don't want the burden or responsibility of another man's kids. So you also have a hierarchy of preference to also prefer a woman without kids. So when you both have GEDs or high school diplomas, you're both not in jail, where we were taking this pool of people, men and women, and both don't have kids, because there's so many more women with kids. You're gonna probably have way more single, eligible, marriageable men.
Right, but like I said, I just don't think that it's just a weird thing to add to the category and say that like this is what makes you right.
What makes it what?
It's you're just adding something to the category though. That, like I just
that's what I'm
disagree
saying.
with it being a
I don't think it doesn't matter. Like for me personally, I don't care who you marry. Doesn't matter. But but if you're saying from a perspective of, oh, there's just way more eligible marriageable women out there, I'm like, okay, based on what? And that's where I'm talking about.
And I said the 3 whats.
And I'm saying that's hold on. And I'm saying if I ask you based on what, and you give me 3 things, I'm gonna give you what about this 4th thing? And if you say, well, I don't really care about that 4th thing, that's what I'm talking about being arbitrary. Because that 4th thing matters to a lot of people.
We can ask Bam maybe to
reach out to her.
Ask Zimi if she can provide a source, because I actually wanted to get a source for that. So like if there was a study or something, she said it was an economic study about that. We don't know.
Wouldn't we also hold on one real quick? Wouldn't we also say that being single is one of those requirements? Like you can that's like a necessary requirement, right? And there's just way more single men than women, which means there's probably a way higher chance.
I don't think that's true.
I'm not sure about
that. No, especially not with black women.
I mean, I just looked it up.
So listen, fam. On average, just period across the board, there are way more single men than there are single women. Just statistically across the board.
What age group? I don't know if that's true across the board for black women. They're probably like. I don't know. I have to look at the stats, but in my
men in their 20s.
Yeah, maybe at 20, girls have boyfriends. But I think like throughout life, I would argue that like I've never worried about the idea of getting married. Like I know whenever I want to, I can meet someone and like like they might not be perfect. No, but I'm just saying general. I don't think men think about this typically. I think that men, because if anything, it's like the stereotype is always men are like afraid of like a woman like asking for it to be married, like versus women like strive, like I hope someone asks me, but like the stereotype is always men getting ultimatums, like she's getting too serious way too fast, she's clingy, I gotta cut her off. Like, whenever men at the wedding, whenever they throw the garter, like men get out of the way because like, oh God, like men try to avoid marriage until they're ready. Like I don't think that women think that way. I think a lot, especially black women, have a fear of if they're ever going to get married. Like I don't know if that's actually out there for me.
So I would say also with women are more likely to tolerate a partner that technically is shown every sign that they don't want them. You know what I'm saying? Like, no,
I don't know, man.
No.
Well,
so
I feel like men chase more, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
So like, men chase more. Yes, that's the firm fact. Before the relationship, but I'm talking about when you're in a relationship. That's technically not even a relationship anymore, and it's still a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you've taken yourself off the market for this person that has already shown you that they're not a good person or they're not marriage material. They are more likely to actually tolerate and support that man and actually help propagate like his escapades than actually like a man is. A man is more likely to like, oh my God, you cheated. Cool, I'm out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
I've been in situations like that before where I'm trying to be in a casual relationship, and a woman that I was with, well, I'm trying to be a casual relationship. She wants a serious relationship, and I'm open and honest. Hey, I don't want what you want. So if you continue this relationship, it's like under my terms of it being casual. They're like, well, I don't care. I'm still gonna be with you, and I'll wait for you until you want a serious relationship. And then they're just like hurting themselves. Like, if you want the thing that you want, I'm not gonna give it to you. So you should just like remove yourself from a situation. And I have been with women where they've actually done that, where I've tell you, I don't want what you want, and they remove themselves situation. But I have seen what Smooth has described, like in just my personal experience. Women are just willing to be in a relationship that is not optimal to them, just for the hope and dream that it will become that optimal
Um,
one.
uh, this isn't exactly what Zimi had brought up in the previous panel, but I did a little bit of a binging. I did it's from Bing, but
Damn.
I know it's like that. It's
Bing,
hard out here. It's hard out
You
here in
couldn't
these
find
streets.
Google? Like, it was
Chat
unavailable?
GPT.
The website was down?
But no, it's yeah. So far fewer black men than black women. So this is from a site called flowingdata.com. And it says they explored the gender gap between black male and black female populations in the United States. There's a graph that says most blacks live in places with a significant shortage of black men, but most whites live in places with roughly parity between white men and white women. And then there's this excerpt from this study. It says they are missing, talking about black men, largely because of early deaths or because they are behind bars. Remarkably, black women who are 25 to 54 and not in jail outnumber black men in that category by 1.5 million. According to the Upshot analysis, for every 100 black women in this age group living outside of jail, there are only 83 black men. Among whites, the equivalent number is 99, nearly parity. So
Okay.
this is
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
but
exactly what
I'm
she was
not
talking
going to
about,
argue
but
with
yeah.
that number. That
Well,
actually
that
makes
number
a lot
is
of
true,
sense.
but that number doesn't have the requirement, which is like, okay, if you want the high school diploma, if you want the non-jail, that's reasonable.
I said
What
that,
about
yes, that's exactly what she said, but
Right.
I was just giving you
right?
I mean, it
So
still just seems to be a discrepancy.
what about were all of those women single? Did it say all of them are single?
No, I didn't. I'll send you the link.
No, did it say that they were single?
Remarkably black women outnumber. I
I think it's
don't
just general. I
think.
think it's
I
just
think
the
it's
Yeah,
just a general
If it's just
population.
yeah. So if
Um,
black women are going to be way in relationships way more, then that stat is irrelevant because it doesn't tell us the full story about which one of them are actually marriable.
But I don't know if that's true. Like saying that black women are in relationships way more. I guess I don't think that's
I said
true.
if.
But you're assuming it. You're saying that
No,
the
I'm
study is
saying
incorrect.
well, I'm basing it off of probabilistically because the study I posted in chat, it says that in general, women are in relationships twice as much as men. Like the vast majority of women are in relationships, the vast majority of men are not.
All right, let me see.
So that's where I'm basing it at. There could be some strange reason that black women is just going to have the opposite effect for some reason, but I think it's reasonable to think it follows.
So I would say this though, like I'm just saying that's like off a life experience wise, like it's more common for a woman to go, okay, cool, I'm now in a relationship or I'm at least dating or talking to this guy than a man to actually have somebody. I think men it's like, okay, I'm with somebody for this period of time. For whatever reason, whether it's his own fault or her fault or whatever, combination of the two, they're now out of a relationship. He now goes another like 5 or 6 years before another like actual relationship, and then he's out the game. Like that's typically how it goes. Now there are those rare factors where like this guy is like, oh, I'm in a relationship, or I'm in a relationship, or I'm in a relationship, and then you gotta rack and stack of like what's the actual like quality of like people that he's actually like being with, and does he actually intend on staying with those people? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he just having somebody like they said, like to have somebody so he can actually be his best? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of men, they jump from relationship to relationship because they don't even know themselves. And it's the same with women. They do the same thing. A lot of people have not spent enough time alone to actually know themselves to where they can be comfortable being alone.
Yeah, I dropped another article. It was kind of
Sorry, guys.
pointing to the similar idea of like the lack of numbers.
I read that article before.
Oh, you did?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh shit! I dropped it in the wrong chat, and I dropped it into the Ask the Black Girl thing. That's my fault. This is the source I was talking about. I do apologize for that.
Oh, but yeah. The other thing that would also, which this isn't a hard rule, but like is going to be referenced in that is like similar education levels. Like that gap is just spreading year after year, which is not necessarily a requirement that you date someone with a similar education level, but statistically, it's the most likely across the board.
Okay, I just asked ChatGPT to do the calculations. Based on these, it has estimates, not exact numbers. There are roughly 2.64 million single black men without children with a high school diploma and not in jail, and there are roughly 2.79 million single black women without children with a high school diploma and not in jail. So about a 100,000 discrepancy.
1,000 more black women.
150,000 more black women are single, no jail, and high school diploma.
Damn. 150,000 to one?
No,
No.
total. He
said
more.
But they even
okay,
that's,
I was making sure. I need to know how.
Yeah,
well, I'll be swinging out here.
I need to
If
know.
I had
They're
a
pretty
dollar.
close. They're pretty close. So Smooth, it's 2.64 million versus 2.79 million.
So
okay.
I'm just
Okay,
not
that
ready to
makes
trust
sense.
ChatGPT because I've seen it like mess up too many times.
It's
Like,
it's a rough
like-
estimate. Even ChatGPT says it's a rough estimate.
yeah. So, but anyway, I'm still looking through this, and yeah, there's like the more like I'm on this article. It's behind a paywall, but like looking at this article, yeah, it's just giving like more evidence of like this difference. Like, it doesn't bring out single people specifically, but there's a 1.5 million difference, and I think that we can trust that number more than anything else. But like, if there's 1.5 million difference, I think there's also going to be a similar discrepancy in terms of single individuals, right? Like, like in terms of just being hard to find that type of person. So I don't know. I feel like this is just much more.
Ezzy, what are your thoughts? I know you tuned in.
Right.
Thoughts on what you're talking about right now, or
No,
thoughts
just
Or
overall?
conversation.
anything.
Just in the conversation in general.
I found that some of the things the ladies were espousing were a bit I don't know, ideologically conflicting. I thought you guys would push back more, but I guess that wasn't a night for it. I was just letting people just say whatever they want to say. Okay. And I'm overall I'm a little tight that y'all had Black Jubilee. Y'all didn't bring y'all didn't even send me a DM, man. You said, hey, we having on some real actual some sisters, man. I don't gotta see. It's not just y'all, man. It's not just.
We didn't want you to scare the hoes, bro. So that's why.
But Dream, you weren't invited either. So I don't even know what you're talking.
Well, I
about.
was exactly. Hold on, I couldn't even come.
exactly
I couldn't even come. I was at the reparations committee.
Hey, so look, I can answer that. So
nah,
listen.
you can't.
No. So listen. To keep it a band. No. So to keep it a band. So look. Okay. So you got Bam is the organizer. Then you got me and Prime as hosts. He's hosting on Twitch. I'm hosting on YouTube. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. So then you have the factor of originally this would have been a full panel. Like, there wouldn't have been room for a men, because if we have more men, it becomes men versus women. Immediately, it immediately becomes that. And we just did not want that.
For gentlemen,
we did not want that, because it becomes men versus women. And the whole thing was, the topic of the conversation is ask a black girl. You can't ask a black girl when you have an equal number of men making input. It's gonna get weird. It's gonna immediately get weird.
Yeah,
know,
they said it was a conversation. It was supposed to center.
Being a little too scary.
Like said,
no, we're not being scary. We're letting them talk. We're letting them talk.
Get your stuff off.
Yeah, get your shit off.
Man,
that's the whole point of the conversation, was to let black women get their shit off. Like, yes, we were there to support certain black male issues or standpoints, or reaffirm like this is the point of black men in some aspects or areas. But at the same time, we for the most part, we took a back seat. Like, if you go timestamp it on who's talking when, like, you're gonna guarantee you're gonna find most of the time women were speaking. Hell, I shut up for 39 minutes and like 45 seconds. After I did the intro, I did not say shit.
Counted that shit. Wow.
Yes, I did.
Hey, bro. When they were talking about would you date outside your race, I don't think you guys really pushed back too much, because they were all talking about culture.
They never pushed back, bro.
Like they were saying, I can never date it.
I didn't want to push back.
No, but my thing is they weren't doing it for the right reasons, is what I'm saying. Like they should have just said, "Oh, I just like black men the most, like arbitrarily, or like I just think they look the best to me, etc., etc." But they all their answers were, "I don't want to have to explain my bonnet. I don't want to have to explain racism. I don't want to have to explain
Definitely.
which is like probabilistic." But then my response to them,
What if
right?
there's a white guy who knows about bonnets?
Exactly.
I know
What
that-
about non-black men who are
Probabilistic is a
culturally
word, man.
educated? Like, I want to know what the answer to them.
Yeah,
to
but like
that
they
would
said,
be.
it wasn't just that. I mean, like they gave a whole list of reasons. It wasn't just about bonnets. I was just a little what the first woman said.
Did you hear what I said? What did I just
yeah.
say?
Yeah, you talked about.
They're saying they don't want to take that. They don't want to take the chance of.
I
like,
understand,
that.
but they wouldn't have to take the chance if it's proven to them.
Yeah, but
So
like,
so
it's
they
not-
need
that's
a
like-
hypothetical.
so then-
You don't want to
hold
go
on.
with the
Here's the
person.
thing, Dream.
Hold on.
Before you
There's
interrupted
no-
me, hold on. Before you interrupted me, I was going. That's why I'm trying to answer the question. So they said a lot more than that. So like, it's not just about a man who's being culturally educated, right? It's about like his family and whether his family will accept you. And it's about like
Sure.
the children, right? And like this, another woman
So-
said, like, you know,
In order
interracial
not to
kids
be
have-
racist, you have to ask the question: if the man who is non-black meets the requirements that you want for a black person, except being black, then would you date them?
But
And
now,
they say-
now we're just dealing with a
No, no, no.
hypothetical. We're not talking about real life
That
anymore.
it
You're
is
saying that, like,
Mike,
let's take the black person,
Jesus.
everything's perfect about them, and then you make them non-black. How do you feel about like? And now we're not talking about humans anymore. You're just trying to solve a hypothetical.
No. We are talking about humans because unless you think these humans don't exist, you don't think.
No, I'm
there's a
saying
cul-
it.
Hold
I'm
on,
saying
hold
it's
on,
not
hold on.
relevant dating.
It is really relevant because I don't understand why
I'm not going to know your entire family before I date you.
You don't have to know my entire family. This is how it's gonna happen. You know who you meet me as a friend. You meet me as a friend, and over time, after getting to know me, you understand that I'm not. You don't have to explain any like racism things or like any things about black women because maybe I grew up in a neighborhood. Or maybe I was adopted by a black family, or for many reasons why a white man or a non-black person can understand black culture even better than some black people. There's many reasons. I'm not going to list them out for it, but it's just that these people exist. And let's say you meet this person, you become friends, you get to know that this is the person that they are, and then you start dating them, you like who they are, and then you meet their family, and then you're like, oh, your family's really accepting of them. If this person meets all the requirements and you still say no, I wouldn't date this person, there's something like inherently racist about that.
Sure, but like I said, now we're dealing with hypothetical. That's not real life. You know what I'm saying? You have to like
Everything is hypothetical.
No,
when you're asking, if you're asking somebody,
if you ask somebody
question,
who they date, they just say who they date. You don't have to say that like, okay, what if we put you in this isolated world where things are different?
I would say I would preferably date black women. I would say that. Just say I would preferably date black.
Or
black
they can just
men.
say what they want to say.
But to say that I would never date a non-black person is racist, especially.
No, but they said something even more confusing than that. But go ahead.
Especially if it's based on things that are not inherently true. So, like on the off chance, like if you're talking about averages, sure, that's what preference is. Oh, probabilistically, I would only date black men.
Sure,
but
when we're dealing with issues of probabilistic, like in the niche, that's what I'm saying. We're no longer talking about real people.
We gotta cut that word out, man.
Yeah, I feel like that too.
I'm just saying it just feels really dumb to say that like oh, okay, would you ever go skydiving? And they're like, nah, I'm scared I could die. Just like, what if I could guarantee 100% that you wouldn't die? Then would you still not skydive? And I guess,
if they're only no. Logically, they would have to say yes. Logically,
but we're not having a logic conversation. We're talking to people.
If you're not having a logic conversation,
Every
conversation
I
has to have
don't
logic.
think. Look, I disagree with Bam because I don't think the hypothetical that he was saying is too like out there, right? Like, in fact, I remember specifically there was a dating a matchmaker, right? A professional matchmaker, and she dealt with Asian women, and she dealt with Asian women, or Asian people in general, but a lot of the Asian women that would come to her would say that, oh, I want a white man, right? And they didn't really examine why they wanted a white man. So she said, hey, if there was an Asian man or a person of the race, right, who filled all your criteria, because they had a whole list of criteria, who filled all the criteria but wasn't white, would you date them? And for most of them, once it was actually put to them that way, they're like, yeah, I think I would. like I think that's like I mean that's I think it's a fine way of constructing that argument. It's okay.
Sure, and
But, like,
100% of those women just went on to continue to date white men
I-
because
I-
it
I-
was relevant.
She at least according to that conversation, seems like she successfully put together Asian couples or just like Asian women with other people of other races. But I think that like that wasn't the point of the conversation. Like, so I disagreed with a lot of things that were said, but like it's not ask a black man, it's ask a black girl. I mean that's the title that Smith chose. So like I wasn't trying to like debate bro them in terms of the ground about these things, you know.
Did you know that you're logically inconsistent here?
My thing is this, bam, I've had a conversation with a racist. I debated a racist, right? There was a white man, and he's like, I will never date a black woman. And the reasons why, well, they're typically more masculine, typically have more testosterone, X, Y, and Z. They're typically more ratchet. And I was like, okay, well, what if you found a black woman who likes everything you like, the things, and you know, they're feminine. They have the traditional role that you prefer, X, Y, and Z, because these black women exist out there. He finally said exactly what he really wanted to say at the end. Well, she's still black. Right? So that's essentially what these black women just said. Even if this white person or non-black person had everything that they were looking for in a black man, essentially they still wouldn't date them because, well, they're still not black. Right?
Well, I mean,
that makes it racist.
Reasons.
What socioeconomic reason could it be?
I mean, they literally were talking about like if when you have mixed kids within 2 generations, like that, like the wealth is like non-black.
Why does that matter?
But yeah, that doesn't.
Oh, so look, so they care about the socioeconomic.
Wait. So bam. Most of the time when people are getting into a relationship and people are thinking about fucking, okay, let's just keep it a band. Like they're not thinking generationally. Okay, they're thinking right now in the moment. Can I tolerate you? And do I like what you're doing to me? That's literally what it is. That's it.
I don't date women under 5'5" because I think about kids.
Bro,
you can think about kids.
Bro, listen. If you,
I think about kids. I don't want to date an autistic person.
I think if you look up the fact, hold on, wait. If you look up the fact on Shaq himself and his wife, like their comparison, and then versus the size of his kids, I don't think you have anything to worry about.
No,
at all, genetically. At all.
Shaq's 7 foot. Shaq's 7
Come on,
foot
bro.
and all his kids are short.
That was a horrible example. Smooth. That was
yeah.
But I mean, no. But what I'm saying is his kids ended up taller than average. They still ended up taller than average.
Yeah,
he's taller than average. Like, bam. How tall are you? Like, let's keep it a man.
I'm like 6 foot.
Okay. You're taller than you are taller than average. Your kids are going to end up on a statistical probability end up taller than average. This is what it is.
But listen, smooth. This is I have to keep saying this. I don't know. People don't understand some things. That dating, marriage, having children isn't about what's possible. It's all about maximizing the probability of what you want. So if he wants taller kids, he's gonna prefer a taller woman because he's trying to maximize his probability.
Okay, that's fine. WNBA.
So that's why. Exactly. So that's why he has a limit for himself, which is arbitrary, and that's okay. Like all dating is subjective, right? But we can say he's heightest to people less than 5'5".
Jesus Christ!
Okay.
No, let's call him a bigot. Let's call
that's
Bam
okay. He's a bigot against people who are on the shorter side, and that's okay. I think height is way more okay to discriminate than race. Like I think we can all agree to that.
I don't know. Is it like I feel like if we were vicious about like heightism, I think it'll be just as terrible.
But
right?
But it's not a protected class.
Yeah, I get you. But like you're saying that like that like these things are inherently different, so we can inherently treat them differently. I'm saying that like if you're just talking about bigotry. I'm sorry, I'm not going to argue this. This is pointless.
Okay. So
but as you wanted to say something previously,
wait, real quick.
No, it was like
just to jump in here with what Dream was saying. I do feel like what Dream is saying is not statistically wrong, as far as like height being a factor in like dating and discriminatory as far as like dating people goes. Like height is a really big thing. Like for men, if a woman is taller than them, they're like Xing her out like almost off rip. And then when you have women, if the guy is not taller enough than them, then they're gonna X him off rip.
I want to
Like,
be
it's
boob
just
height,
it's
right?
just
So I can just suck them titties. I'm moving right
no, but
there.
I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying that's just on average what it is. You can have some outliers. Like, I've dated a few women that were taller than me, but on average, like the stuff that
Yeah,
lasted,
we
like
get you. Yeah, we understand that. We already know. Sexual
How do you
dominance.
How do you feel about women who say I need a man that's at least taller than me?
I feel like it's true. Like it's super easy to do. It shouldn't bother you because, like I said, average the girl's height 5'4". So like
No, like look,
99% of
I
men.
do want. Sorry, I dream the thing that you want to focus in on girls who are saying I want to marry someone or date someone who's at least 6 foot. When they put like a number on that, that's the issue. Not that they're taller than them, because most men are taller than most women, right?
But like, is even the tall women are saying at least taller than me?
Well, yeah, because the women like to feel small. That's the thing that you'll hear that from them, right? They like the idea of feeling small. But a lot of tall women just like eventually they understand. My options.
So like I was saying earlier, being heightless is way more acceptable. It seems like something that's okay in this society.
In our society,
well, I think dating preferences are general. I think like just as dating preferences in general aren't really. Like in any practical terms aren't really frowned upon. So like
no. I think there's a difference between dating preferences and dating requirements.
Oh well,
I think
I was using those interchangeably. When I say dating requirements,
they're necessarily different because people who say I would prefer somebody that's taller than me would allow for the chance of dating somebody their height or shorter. But people that say he has to be taller than me means there is no chance for that same height or shorter man to date them. Same way I would prefer to date somebody who's a black person, which I would say that means I'm still allowing for the potentiality of a non-black person to like fall in love with them. But for somebody to say I only date black people, it means that there is no chance. So that's why I'm saying a requirement versus preference. And I think when you have the requirement, that's when it becomes more problematic.
But I don't think colloquially those mean two different things to people. I think most people who say they have a preference for something aren't going to date someone who doesn't.
But ontologically, they are different.
Dream.
You're just forcing people into your language, baby.
I just want to say,
think about this way.
They just don't say it the way that I say it. I agree with you when you say that. Look, like if this had been a different forum, then I would have pushed back a lot more. I would have said like, hey, how is it that like talking about like just dating a black man, like how is it that racist? Like the one woman, Paradise, said that like she wanted to keep the bloodline pure. That's only what came out of her mouth.
Yeah,
right?
she did go wild.
She literally said that. Now I would have pushed back against that. I would have like gone into like a whole thing like. There's just so much there.
Paradise, your bloodline ain't pure. It's like
I know. I was gonna say that too. I was like, your bloodline probably ain't pure. Like get that 21 and me done or 23 and me done because it ain't pure. But like, I would have pushed back against that. But this is a different forum, so yeah.
Don't think of it as like typical.
I don't think that's necessarily even an issue because most people like racially, like along racial lines, think that way, like in some way, shape, form, or fashion. You know what I'm saying? And that's like this acceptable form of racism that every race accepts.
We can understand
on some level.
We can understand that, but that doesn't mean it's not racist. Like you,
but it's also not something. It's also not something like that. I don't think society is worth correcting in society. Like I don't think there's any value in trying to have a conversation about and trying to like change someone's perspective on who they romantically are interested in. I don't think it makes society better that we've like changed who you find romantically interesting.
Bam, I agree with you.
But I think I agree. It's like there's like an underlying premise that they believe, which is inherently racist, that can seep into other beliefs that they have.
Sure,
so that's why it's
the
problematic.
other beliefs will be the problem. Like you get the thing about.
But if you tackle it in this conversation, I understand why you didn't do it in this conversation because you just wanted to hear their perspective. You don't want to necessarily push back on them. So that's fair. Mm-hmm. I don't. Now that you explained that to me, in a different scenario, you would have. So I appreciate that. So considering that that context, I like to challenge problematic views at all times as much as I can. So I understand in this context you didn't want to, because it may seep in, it may like overlap from one conversation to another, so you don't do like more work, or like you make to hit two birds with one stone kind of situation. So it's like if you fix somebody's racism within dating, their racism may be fixed in a different aspect,
So-
and it might be beneficial in that way.
But
So
why don't
Dream-
we tell
Even
people-
if it's not materialistically different in the real world in terms of dating aspect, but we will see a material difference in the real world because we fixed their racism within dating in a different aspect within the world.
So okay, so to address that point, Dream, I think that in trying to have like proper disc, there has to be a time and a place for pushback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And at some point you have to let people that are underrepresented express themselves. There's been very few instances and platforms where Black women have been able to talk at lengths like this, especially coming from the diverse Black backgrounds that we had. Like, I think that is extremely rare. Therefore, we had to just kind of just shut up. You know what I'm saying? And I was okay with shutting up to let them get their shit off. Because like I personally have never heard most of the stuff like at length that they were getting into, and them going back and forth amongst each other. That's a conversation that most of the time when we're in the room, they would not have.
They have it on the podcast all the time.
Absolutely. And I've had a similar situation with when I kind of like did an interview or had a conversation with somebody that was like an astrologist reader and obviously I believe astrology is pseudoscience. I mean, it is a pseudoscience definitionally, but I just let her speak and just express her opinions. I didn't push back, even though I could have easily. So I understand, like, when you set up the space for that to happen, then that's what's going to happen. So I understand. That's why I wanted to come on that after panel to really talk about what you guys thought of what they said, really.
I don't think that, I mean, like I said, there's some stuff that I'm like, might have went a little far, but generally, I think a lot of the things they were saying were fair. Like, I think it may make a lot of people uncomfortable, especially Black men, but like, I don't think that some of the things they were saying about
I think most
the way they're
fair,
treating in the community, I think they were generally fair. Like I said, even if they may have had some little spice or a little perspective, like their own like twist.
I was a little
slight
confused.
biases to it.
The one that was blatantly misandrist, what was her name? Was that
Zimi?
Zimi? What was I forgot what she said. She said something
I don't
crazy.
think she was blatantly misandrist. I think that was.
I mean,
like
she self-admitted. Yeah,
no, she is, but
she is.
She was
self-admitted, and then the homie in the background came through.
Today
was
she was actually fine, but yeah, Zimi.
Yeah, I would love to hear more. I really want to hear from more from her. She really impressed me, Zimi.
Do you guys?
I put that in our private chat. But
would you feel a certain way if one of your like female friends was misandrist? Because my ex, right? She had one of her best friends was misandrist, and I really like looked at her different. You know what I'm saying? Because how do you allow one of your close friends to be misandrist? Like, doesn't that say something?
Do you allow your close friends to be misogynist? Guys,
I
don't. All the time.
But that's what I'm saying. You would look at those guys who have those close friends or misogynists to be like, "Whoa, there's something up with you." Because
it's power dynamics.
None of my friends are misogynists. Like,
no, it's power dynamics. There's conversations again. Even though we're live right now, you have people in like the Black people that you deal with that legitimately and probably for justified reasons don't really ever white people like that, and they'll say things like white people get on my nerves. Like, and it's like at the end of the day, is it racist? No. Is it a form of like prejudice? Bigotry?
Yeah, but
sure.
I fight them on that. If
every
like,
time you didn't make it to Morehouse fighting on that.
What are you saying, bro? I fought. Yes, we'd have debates all the time, bro. I was the guy that always advocated for like non-prejudice in all cases. Sometimes it got annoying to people, but I'm always doing that. Like, even with my current friends right now, I'm always battling their misogyny and battling their misandry. I'm just not gonna be like, oh, that's just them. I'm not really gonna care.
Okay, so they do have those views, but they do have
I've
your
corrected them. Yes, I've corrected them, so they don't have it anymore. So over time,
according to you, they don't have them anymore.
Yeah. Obviously, even I was misogynist and racist back then. Like, I used to be part of a Black supremacist group even when I was in high school. So obviously, people change over time. But the point I'm making is, you're a grown person, like as in mid-20s and maybe older. You've had time to reflect on your problematic views. By now, you should already have corrected your closest friends that you've known for years and years. So I'm looking at you different. Like if you're still friends with these type of people, no, you're like, okay, well, let your friends be racist and misogynist. That's what
No,
you
I mean,
guys
like
like?
I look, I correct family who are
Exactly.
like, yeah, but like I don't know. It's just that
You wouldn't allow them to just be openly like, right? Like if they say in front of you, you correct them. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, I do.
Okay, good.
But like, okay,
You would look down upon people that don't, is what I'm saying, right?
who don't correct. I mean, I guess, yeah, sure.
Okay, great. I'm glad we agree. But Bam is like, let them be.
I don't know. I feel like
Well, we established that Bam's a bigot already. So.
No, well, sure, but I'm talking about like I think it all just means colloquially what's being said in the context of the conversation. Like to say like, oh yeah, she's a misandrist. Like how where do you draw that line versus where do you draw the line of misogyny? Because I promise you, Zimi probably thinks you're a misogynist. Like, and you would say that you push back against misogyny, but you would be
so in that. Yeah, so that was part of why I asked her to like start to like define those things, because I really wanted to know what she was thinking, because I'm like, dude, like just because somebody might like agree like in like this one area doesn't mean like, oh, they're like this overall, like they don't support women in all categories or something like that. Like,
and this isn't me speaking for her. This is me. Well, I guess I am speaking for her. Her base point is, but due to patriarchy in the system we live in, all men are like by definition some level of misogynist. She separates like baby misogynists or like full blown. Like that was the thing she was talking about with the hoteps. Like you're probably not that different from like the people you think you're against.
And that's just so categorically disingenuous.
I mean,
that's like
everybody's got one.
No. Yes, it is. Yes, it is to have to sit a totem pole down and have a monolith and go, okay, you are at the bottom of the totem pole, and these people are at the top of the totem pole, but nobody is ever not on the totem pole. That seems ridiculous.
All she's saying. I don't want to speak for Zimi because I don't know her like that. But like I imagine what she would say here is that like this is on a spectrum, that like living in America just by osmosis, like black boys are exposed to misogynistic messages and have misogynistic ideals implanted into them, right? Now, like she wouldn't say that all of them are like a danger to women or anything like that. All of them are trying to put them like back in the kitchen. She would say that like but she would probably say, and again, I'm just guessing, but that the distance between those two, right? Like where men think that, well, they're categorically different. I'm categorically like not.
I don't have anything to unpack.
Right?
I'm not.
Yeah,
like
I have
them.
nothing to unpack at all. When you actually might, because you're on that spectrum, you're somewhere there, so you're closer to those people than you think.
This is so weird. Like, bro, like to be honest, that's like me saying, oh, all women are on some form of misandry. Like you could say that. You could say that and it could be fucking valid, but it sounds fucking stupid.
Why does
in actual application, it sounds fucking stupid.
Everything's a spectrum, in my opinion.
No, but to treat everything like a spectrum is horrible.
No, it's not. It's like the honest way you're looking at things, understanding that the world isn't black and white. Things aren't on or off. That there is like a large gray scale here. Yeah, that's actually the honest way of looking.
It's probably more dangerous to see yourself to think you're like incapable of something.
Yeah,
it's probably a more dangerous view to believe it. Like I'm so different from them. Like I couldn't possibly.
It's not even saying you're incapable of something. To have an outlier, to have a thought on a particular day that you feel this particular way versus like this is your way of thinking, because when you say that, you're saying that this is that particular person's way of thinking. That is a way of thinking. To think that way sometimes makes you that way or whatever. It puts you on the spectrum. But to have just a thought, you know what I'm saying? Like That's what she's.
Yeah.
alluding to.
Okay. If you
That's
just had
a thought.
if you just
you're
had
on the
a
spectrum.
thought, if you just had a thought, then you'd be way far on the other side of the spectrum. If it was just
That's
a
so
thought you had at
weird,
some point in
bro.
time, then you'd be way far because that's how the spectrum works. So you'd still be on the spectrum. It's really that simple. I don't know why you're arguing with this.
No,
It's like-
and we also- and
because
most
I
people
don't.
aren't
No,
just
'cause
having a
I don't
thought
put
either.
somebody.
That's
I don't
what
put people. I don't put people on a racist spectrum. I either go, you're
you
racist.
should.
No, I either
You
say
should.
you're racist or you're not.
That,
Like,
and that's
you
a
can-
poor
you
way of
can-
looking at it.
that's
That's
it.
a terrible way of looking at it.
No.
You're right, Smooth. You're right, Smooth.
That's it.
Let me
Absolutely
explain.
That's it.
Let me
You
explain.
can't. No. You can.
Let me
You can
explain
be.
why.
You can be
let
a
me,
little.
let me help you out. Let me help you out.
Go
Smooth.
ahead.
There are people out there who don't have any type of racism in their body at all. I'm one of them, right? So I'm not a racist.
You were part of a black supremacist group. What are you talking about? You
Was.
tainted for life. You tainted
So-
for life. There was something. There's something that turned in your mind. There's
You
something.
compromised.
It's called being ignorant. It's called being ignorant.
No,
Being
there's-
ignorant
Okay.
and misinformed means that you
Do you
can
wanna know?
gain
Do you wanna know?
knowledge to change your mind.
If that's true, then you're on the far side of the spectrum. Like
So-
that's how
so-
spectrums work.
But listen. I understand. I'm trying to explain to you how it's both a spectrum and it's both. Isn't it called bimodal or something like that when it's that way? Where there's two options and it's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of, hey, I'm not a racist, and you are a racist. And once you get a little bit of racism on top of, so there's a spectrum right here, and everything to the this is my left, right? This is my left, even though it may show it right on here. This is my left, and this left is I'm not a racist. Anything, even the 0.0001 added up to I'm not a racist, categorizes you as I'm a racist.
And this is
so
why,
even though it's a spectrum,
and this
it
is
still
why,
means
no,
there's a I'm
This-
not a
this is the
racist,
problem.
and then there is I'm a racist.
This is the problem
Because even
that
if you have a
and
little
Smooth are
racism in
doing.
you are racist.
No,
There's just a
this-
level.
this-
There's just
what's wrong
degrees
with
of
the
how
logic,
racist
Brian?
This
you
is the
are.
problem.
There's
This
just
is the
degrees
problem
of
that
how
you
racist
and
you are.
Dream.
You got a little bit of black in you,
right?
you get
What you're
black.
doing is like you're essentializing people. You're saying that this person, like,
Essentializing?
like,
You're
that
not
you're-
black,
Hold on,
but if
listen.
you got a little bit of
listen.
black.
Listen, like you're essentializing people. You're saying that like I can identify a straight up racist because of like this and this criteria, right? And that person is essentially a racist. But if you don't meet that those criteria, or not all of them, maybe, then you're not. So like what I'm saying is that like I'm not. It's well, and maybe this was a bit of confusion. Is that in the spectrum that I'm talking about, it's not useful to necessarily call a person a racist, but just to say that people have racist
Tendencies.
ideas,
They have-
ideologies, thoughts in their head, right? And there's a spectrum. Some
Having
people,
racist
those
ideas.
But is
thoughts.
that being racist?
Yeah, if you have if you believe
and
in
at some
any
point-
racist beliefs,
Prime,
you
you're,
are
you're,
racist.
you're being
If you
verbose.
believe in any
about
racist
that.
No,
belief,
You're
yes, I'm being
overcomplicating
verbose to actually explain the point.
You're
I'm sorry, I don't know. Like,
overcomplicating
this is a nuanced conversation.
No,
I'm trying
no
to
one
have
thinks
here.
that way. If
So,
you have
You
racist
literally,
thought,
lots of people think this way. I'm sorry if this is new to you, thinking about things in a spectrum, but lots of people consider it this way. Once you realize the world's not black white, once you realize people aren't black and white, and so yes, you can be a person who works in an anti-racist field job or whatever, right? And you can still have like racism in your thought like an
You go
Asian
outside,
woman
you
could
cross
like
the
cut
street.
you off. An Asian woman could cut you off in traffic. You know, like something you say something about her because she's an Asian woman. Asian women don't know how to drive, right? Like that's the thing that happens to normal human beings. Now, is that person a quote unquote racist?
and how is it?
I can't. I probably
You
not.
can.
But like
you said the crux of what you meant.
Okay, whatever. All right, like
Yeah.
And
I
I haven't
just
spoken
don't
at
find-
all.
I don't- just don't
mean,
find it
like,
to be
like you're
meaningful.
saying, it's not realized that way. Even though you're speaking about how ideally it happens, but when it's realized, people always ask, "But bro, are you racist?" Like they
Okay.
always
one
ask, or they
self-identifies.
deal with it in a fashion of saying, "Hey, that's not right. You shouldn't have a
literally
thought
not,
like that,"
like,
because
listening.
thoughts like that are problematic. They're stereotypical and or racist. So people will judge you and treat you as
yeah,
such,
I understand.
even if
people
you
will.
in reality may not be.
Yeah,
Could have
exactly.
just
They,
been
they
a
might not be
a
because
idle
we're
thought.
on a spectrum. Okay, I've said all I have to say.
I think what it boils down
Racism
to
isn't like neurodivergency. That's
Sure,
what
whatever. Go.
I don't know.
with the spectrum itself, right? I think the problem that exists with having a spectrum is that any one thing could put you on the other side, and I don't think life is that way. Like I don't think you have like this track record of doing all these things correctly, and then you do this one thing, and now you're on the spectrum of the bad side.
It's not
Like
what you
That's
are.
really not how that
no, no, no,
works. How
no,
the
no, no,
spectrum
no, no.
works.
But what I'm saying is it's now slided you slightly over to make you this more bad of a person, when you can just say in this moment you had a lapse of judgment. You had a very bad categorical like way of thinking, and
And there's a place on
and
the
that you
spectrum
can
for
that you
you.
can that you self
Like,
that
I
you
don't know.
either
The spectrum
that you
includes
either
all of these
corrected,
things. It's
or
convenient like
that
that.
either you were corrected or you
There's a
self-corrected.
place in the spectrum of racism.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
mean,
but
like,
that's what
what?
I'm
listen,
saying.
no.
I
We
don't,
don't
saying-
I
even
don't, feel,
deal.
I don't feel like that, because if we're talking about spectrum of racism, then you get back to the ideology of, okay, then fine, everybody can be racist. Everybody can, you know what I'm saying, can be systemically racist towards people. Everybody can, and you can start to like give everybody a point. Everybody gets a point. So therefore, nobody no longer has a point. If you're living life with
Okay,
everything on the
whatever.
spectrum, everybody no
I don't
longer has
know.
a
No,
point.
Okay,
No,
all right.
no, no, no.
I
the
just don't
real
feel like
spectrum, the
arguing
real
this anymore.
spectrum,
I really
the
don't.
real spectrum, the real
Any
spectrum,
which
is
the
the
way.
real
severity.
spectrum. Hold
The
on,
spectrum,
hold
the
on,
spectrum
hold
is the
on. The real
severity of
spectrum is.
racism. Smooth. So,
Can you hear me?
you do have the non-racist, and then the spectrum is how racist are you, right?
But
So
Jim,
that's
you
where the
consider
spectrum.
yourself as on the
Okay,
non-racist
yeah.
side.
Yeah, of course.
You're the
You think
perfect
it's
side.
impossible somebody not to be racist? That's what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying we exist in a country with different cultures. We have cultural biases.
You can have cultural
A
preference without being racist.
cultural bias is gonna be is a racial bias. Like,
No. You can have cultural bias without being prejudiced.
no, you can't.
No, so
That's
it's
what
like
bias is.
no. For me to say I like American food is a cultural bias, correct?
I guess yeah.
Okay, so I don't
I
like
gotta
Indian
head out.
food.
Bye, guys.
Is that prejudice against Indians or
All
something?
right, prom.
Take care.
Am I not prejudiced against Indians for not having
Sure, but that's not
preferential-
that was.
So give me an example. Give me an example where I'm biased towards a culture and I'm racist towards another.
No, I'm saying that if I think again myself, I think black women are prettier. I'm saying that of course, is that a preference? Sure, but I'm also have my own like I'm also like socially like, even though I haven't met every white woman, I'm giving a bias, just creating my own perspective on what I think.
My thing is, you don't believe that there's zero ugly white women out there. I mean, you don't believe that there's zero pretty white women out there. I
don't have to though, but that's
no. This is what I'm saying.
No, wait a minute,
right,
wait before you do it again. Before you do the thing where we're going to like the hypothetical exact, I'm saying in like a useful, tangible way of thinking. I don't have to meet every person I don't have to have a perspective of like if you calculate the total number of white women in the world, like there's a logical possibility that I could meet one. I'm saying in how people use words, I'm using my bias that's counting out an entire group of people. I'm saying that I think this group of people are prettier based off of nothing but like my limited perspective. I haven't met everyone, but I already made my judgment call. Like without that totality, that's a bias. That's a racial bias, and that racial bias is. I'm gonna say this.
I'm gonna say this. I was for dating every race but white women. Then I met this particular white woman. And I said, you know what? I was wrong. You all right with me? I said, you are all right with me. Therefore, it opens the box for then everybody else to be right with me. Then I had to question within myself, well, why did I make that criteria, that extrinsic criteria, to make all these other women like not available to me? Why did I do that? Where did that come from? You know what I'm saying? I asked myself that question. Do I still just date primarily black women? Absolutely. But she was an exception. And as long as there's an exception, it makes you question why your beliefs are that way.
I mean, like I said, it's just saying that like if you go to the root of things, there's probably a prejudice.
It just makes no sense. It just makes no sense for you to say, because I have a preference for something and I don't have a negative attitude towards another, necessarily means if it's based on culture that I'm racist.
Your preference probably, like, if you go down deep enough into it, there probably is some negative attitude there.
No.
Because like I said, just like what you said with Indian food, you haven't tried, or American food versus Indian food. You haven't
What do you
tried.
mean I haven't tried it?
So I'm saying, not you. You may have tried some Indian food. You haven't tried.
I have to try every food for me to say in general I don't like it.
No, you don't. But I'm saying that you understand that you're building your biases, you're building your preferences off of incomplete data. You acknowledge.
I'm asking you, what is the threshold for me to reasonably say I don't like a certain culture?
You can reasonably say it whenever, but I'm saying that the reason is going to be built off of a bias.
No, you're not understanding. You can have bias and be reasonable with the bias. Like,
right,
I have
but
bias
you know
towards
you're
science.
dealing with incomplete data.
Well, my thing is this. No. Listen, my thing is this. When you're saying reasonable, you are necessarily disqualifying prejudice, because part of being prejudiced is the unreasonability of the belief that you have. You understand?
No.
I
understand, but
to be prejudiced means you have an unreasonable belief about a group.
You could get beat up by 20 black people. Like, a white person could get jumped by 20 black people.
And it's unreasonable to say all black people are violent. Yes, I would agree with that.
Or to not even go that far to say that, like, to make a choice, a preference to not be around black people because they don't want to get beat up anymore.
I do not understand. Hold on. My thing is this. Listen, that's still unreasonable. Let me tell you why my belief about certain time. First of all, I can't control what I don't like in terms of taste. I really can't. Like, everyone's born with a taste palette that develops over time, which is outside of your control. So for me, not saying, hey, I don't like Indian food, and anytime I smell it, like, it makes me want to throw up a little bit. That's outside of my control.
Sure.
It's not based on a belief. It's literally my nostrils are telling me this is not a food that I would enjoy.
If you would outside of my belief. If you would want to be more correct, as you were saying, you would say the Indian food I've had so far, I haven't liked.
No, I'm saying when I walk near Indian restaurants.
Right, the Indian restaurants I've walked by so far. That would be the more correct statement, but we don't expect humans to do that. Like, there's not a normal expectation to put on humans.
I'm going to refrain from Indian food, but I don't think it harms Indian people that I refrain. That's what I'm saying. I don't think
right, but I'm saying, but you understand, you acknowledge there's a possibility there's Indian food you like that would be.
There are Indian food that I like the naan bread. I like Indian food, but I don't like Indian food in general based on like the very different. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's the threshold of a culture's food do I have to consume in order for me to say, hey, this is probably a food that I don't enjoy?
You can do it at zero. I don't expect. I'm just saying that there's
for it to be reasonable and not prejudice. For it to be reasonable and not prejudice is what I'm asking.
I'm saying that doesn't exist to me.
Something
there's no
negative.
There's always going to be prejudice
that you see on a consistent basis amongst, when you interact with Indian culture. Every culture has their con, right? And there could be a con that's not pleasurable to you, and you say, I don't want to deal with that. Or it could be that the pros of other cultures are just that's so prolific and profound to you that it's so pleasing to you that you rather deal with that, and that's why that you have a preference for that culture that race of person over everything else. I would say that would be a reasonable threshold, but all that is just preferences. There's even individuals in their own cultures who will say, I don't have a preference for this aspect of my culture, right? It's reasonable.
Yeah, like I don't like any spicy food. That's outside of my control. It might like prejudice towards a culture that only has spicy food.
I would just say it's not like you may not like the blend of spices. A lot of the spices we get anyway are from
I don't like any
Africa
spicy food because it's not about.
You don't like any spice?
I don't like any spicy food. Like the word spicy food. There are spices that are not spicy. You understand?
Mm-hmm. Oh shit.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of black culture that has. Maybe you don't like. There's a lot of black culture that has spicy food. Maybe you don't like black.
There's a bunch of black culture without. There's a bunch of
Hispanic
black
culture that has a lot of. Maybe you don't like Hispanics. I don't know.
No. I said. Here was only spicy food. Me liking not like spicy food.
All
doesn't
I want
mean
is
that I'm against that culture in terms of I'm prejudiced against it. It just means that my particular taste palette doesn't agree with that culture's decision making in terms of food. So for me to have a reasonable uh like apprehension to it doesn't mean that I'm prejudiced against it. Like there's reasonable apprehensions. So what I was saying to Bam is like it's so crazy to me that he's saying everybody's racist to some degree because everyone has a preference for a culture, but that's not true at all. Just because you have a preference for something doesn't mean you're racist or sexist. Like for me, I have a preference towards women. Now am I homophobic because of that? You know what I'm saying? I just naturally don't like men. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying men can't be beautiful, that men can't be nice partners, but I just naturally don't like men, like on a sexual, romantic level. So it's literally analogous. I just naturally don't like Indian food. I naturally don't like X, Y, Z aspects of a culture. So it doesn't mean that I'm prejudiced against them. I just have a reasonable apprehension.
Hey, bro, that's a wild way to go into that example.
But it makes sense.
It
makes sense
for you to say pause.
I said I don't like men. I've always that's the biggest pause you can say.
Into it. It's the way you stepped into it. Like I was like, wait, where's he going? Like I feel you on what both of you guys are talking about. As far as like from a cultural standpoint, or as far as like a standpoint of like having something that you inherently are not like for, you know what I'm saying, or something that you inherently don't support. And I don't think that you not supporting it doesn't mean you're exactly in opposition of. And I think that's where a lot of people end up doing is they place you in opposition of because you're not a staunch supporter of said thing. I think a lot can be gained by letting neutral people stay neutral without polarizing them to either side. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of what America has become is because we've polarized people to one side or the other on every single issue you can name. People have been polarized to one issue or another. If you could let people just exist in the gray, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? You're either this or you're this or you're not. You know what I'm saying? There's three options. There are three options. You're this, or you're not. And that's fine. To put people on, and that's what I was arguing with Prime, was to put people on a spectrum to say that you are this thing even though you aren't. Like, I think that's really fucking weird. You know what I'm saying? And that literally makes people in opposition of you that aren't even necessarily your enemy. You're literally fighting people that are like, yo, bro, I don't even want to fight you.
My thing is, I don't understand what they were trying to say about spectrum, about race. And they were trying to attack you, because I think they're both. There's a yes and no. The no is very simple. 0 racist thoughts in your mind, you're not racist. And the yes, there's black people are a little harmful too. Black people are monkeys. You know what I'm saying? That's huge. That's a huge range where you can be in the middle. So that's the spectrum to me. But not a racist bone in my body. Have no racist thoughts. Everybody's equal. Boom, you're not racist.
Yeah.
Hey, black people, they're all right. Versus, I hate them. So that's a spectrum.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a spectrum, but also, like I was saying, bimodal. I think that's how you would classify that.
Yeah, I knew what you were talking about when you said bimodal. I was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, because when you have a spectrum, that literally means you are one or the other. There's very few people that are sitting at 0 or 50, whatever the middle of that spectrum is. There's very few like data points that end up in the middle. Like, and that's if you study statistics. Like, you realize that there's very few things that sit in the middle. Like, you're always like on one side or the other, and that's why I was saying the point of like, it puts you at odds with people that you shouldn't be at odds with. You know what I'm saying? You end up going to war with people that you shouldn't go to war with. And therefore you end up losing people that would support you, or actually wouldn't even fight you. They would let you go and actually fight your opposition. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot could be gained in not just, well, I'll just stick to the Black community. Could be gained by us not polarizing people and letting people just exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool. You're not on this side, you're not on that side. You're just chilling. Cool. Let you just chill so I can go over here and deal with this person that's not chilling. You know what I'm saying? This is the person that I have a problem with. Cool. Go deal with the person you have a problem with. Don't make it this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Where, you know what I'm saying, you have to make somebody like your enemy. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of people of other races that are not necessarily your enemy, but because they did not staunchly support your particular position or policy at that time of day that you felt that way, that you're actually like creating an enemy out of somebody that didn't even have a problem with you. They're like, cool, you're not that particular point doesn't even deal with my aspect of life, bro. Go get yours. I hope you are happy.
I'm confused. Like, for me, you could be a little racist but still a good person, right?
Yeah. That's
true. It's like, you know, that old white woman that means well and still is out there helping the black community but says low microaggressions. She's an overall good person, but just doesn't know, she's not with the times. Doesn't say she keeps saying colors. You know what I'm saying? She keeps saying the blacks.
The level of grace that people are willing to extend. Like, there's a lot of people out here nowadays who aren't willing to extend grace to anybody. They're very polarized, like Smooth said, and they want either you're with me or you're against me, right? There's no in between. There's no room for growth. There's no room for any type of complicated or critical dynamic. And that's what I was trying to say. Like, before, Paradise said before, like, as long as you uphold the idea of blackness, I can date you. And I'm like, but I thought you said you can't deal with, you don't want to explain, or maybe somebody else said that I don't want to explain my culture to somebody. I mean, like, okay, so then maybe you can find, there's a lot of people out there who aren't problematic and who are willing to learn about your culture or are very knowledgeable about it because they just happen to be around black people. People just know people, you know what I mean? You would be surprised. So if you're not willing or open or have grace for any type of situation, you're going to miss out on opportunities thinking that you have a set preference, right? My preference, a lot of it is just protection. A lot of it is just insecurity. A lot of it is just comfortability, and when I'm not saying, go broke, go for broke and risk it all, for your white boy. I'm not saying you got to do that. But there's a lot of individuals we all ran into that were cool. And like Smooth said, they weren't trying to be a problem. They were unproblematic individuals. Most people, I see a lot of interracial couples where they're okay with it as long as the other person or the other person's family is not problematic. As long as everybody can just sit around, watch TV, watch the football game, eat food, and relax. As long as you're, doing what you're supposed to do, have a job, take care of each other and be happy. At the end of the day, everybody's okay with that. Nobody really cares because everybody's just trying to take care of themselves and their own. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I just that's all I wanted to say. And I was hoping somebody would have said that to Paradise, because it was funny, because I've been like, y'all should be listening to Issa, even though Issa Rae got herself a brother, you know what I mean? She was saying, hey, yeah, if you paired up with the Asians, y'all probably be killing the game right now, because Asian men is looking, they taking a lot of L's out here right now.
The Asian men?
Is Asian men and black women
in America, maybe.
No.
Groups.
So
in America,
in America, like statistically dating wise, like they're the ones at the bottom of the totem pole together.
But globally, these women love them some Korean men. They go head over heels over the Korean pop stars.
That's Korean pop stars, bro.
I mean, that's an outlier. Like if you put any famous race of man up there on a totem, like, and they're up there, they're getting money, they have status and all that other shit. Like, yes, women want them. That's just categorical.
But I feel like
that's categorical fact.
People just want
there's no race. There's no race.
No. I agree with you. You're gonna have an advantage as a famous person in any race. But I think amongst them, I think K-pop and
That's just
just
K-pop, man. There's a whole
But I
they
think
got other
they're the
genres.
highest amongst the famous race of men. They have an
I
advantage
don't.
even
Afro
amongst the
Afro
advantage.
I
Afro
don't
beats
think.
is really big
I
right
don't
now.
necessarily
It's,
think so. It's just because of how they're able to proliferate amongst the mass population of the world. You know what I'm saying?
black people love
When you
anime.
have that
They're not out here trying to date
when
Japanese
Exact.
men.
right, but when you look at the population of the world and you look at like China owns like the population of the world, I think finally crossed 8 billion finally or whatever. So like you have 8 billion people. 1 point, I think, what is it? 1 point, I'll just say 1.5 to be safe. It's Chinese. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they don't have a problem with a Korean pop star because that's not too much of a leap for them. You know what I'm saying? That's not a leap. You know what I'm saying? That's not a leap. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like
Y'all
black
being
people. No,
cringe.
that's like black.
I'm about
That's
to-
like black people.
bro.
That's
Y'all
like black
good
people
night.
and
Y'all
Africans.
being
That's like
cringe.
black people and Africans. If a black person told me, "Yo, I prefer African women," like like I like this African.
Y'all
Like I
take
like
care,
Tim.
man. I'm
I
heading
like
out.
Tim's. Like
Have a good night.
let's say Teams or Tim's, whatever her name
Thames,
is, right?
Thames.
Tim's, right? Like he likes her, right? Like I don't think that's a leap. I don't think that's a jump in logic. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not too far from what you already preferred. That's not too far from what you already preferred.
True,
You know,
true.
you know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
I think when you deal with the mass preponderance of like who people are gonna run into, like India is right there next to, you know what I'm
what we
saying?
should have talked about, Smooth?
The Asian continent. Like, yeah, it's not a stretch for them to go, yo, well, I would like this Asian guy. You know what I'm saying? Then you go to the next populous country and the next one and the next one. You start to realize, like, oh, these people aren't too far from them. So, and they run into them on a regular basis. They see them regularly. So it's not a stretch of the imagination. But as far as black men are concerned, like, yeah, to see a black man in status, yeah, that might be a bit of a reach. Like it's a bit harder to see. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll see more often more rich more rich white men, more rich even in some aspects, like as far as like a certain level of wealth, like you'll see more Hispanic men than you will see black men at a certain level of wealth. Like if you start to cap at a certain level, like black men just aren't there. Like we're super rare as far as like getting to the upper echelons of actual success and actually having something. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't think that's too much of a stretch. But what else did you want to say? If not,
I was gonna say, did y'all ask the woman, because I came late, but did y'all ask the woman like what was their ick?
Nah, so look, that was on the list, to be honest, but we got so caught up in like other stuff, we just didn't get, like, Bam had a full list of questions. We only got to 4 of them. We only did 4. Like Bam had like 10 questions. We only got to 4. Laziness.
Okay. So what about the I felt like a good question to ask them would have been like, what is too how do you feel about
Oh my God, here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, this is hard to say.
Jesus Christ,
How do you feel about sassy men?
Oh my God.
You know,
Hey,
because
you know what?
black women, you know how they call anything sassy nowadays, bro. I would have been on that. So what's the threshold of sass for y'all?
You're willing to accept? Hey, you know what? That would have been a good question to ask. But yeah, we it's definitely gonna get ran back. We're gonna definitely run it back.
We need to ask a black man. Put me on, bro.
We're gonna you know what? Honestly, I don't have a problem with that. I just have to find some women that
that are really curious and want to ask
yeah,
about men.
ask questions and all that. You know what I'm saying? I think I got some in mind that wouldn't mind asking us some questions. Even of the people that were here, I think 3 of them would be down for that. I just I'd have to set it up. But anyway, thank you know what I'm saying, y'all, for watching the stream. Thanks for the people that subbed. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate y'all that subbed for watching the stream, man. I'm just gonna end it here. Thanks for watching
Peace.
After Hours.